Thank you.
That one?
Should have said ish, 7-ish.
Thank you.
Anytime after 7.
And then 6-ish.
Did you go?
Yeah, I'd already gone. I went
Everybody was
2 days after the last one.
It was nice.
Yeah, I was just more interested because I drive by there a lot. Where is that parcel?
Yeah, stuck in the bank.
Well, it's just, just to get oriented.
Can you turn on? I don't know why they come up so high. Short people can't. They're trying to kill you? You have power buttons. Should be right on the side.
No power button on the side, yeah.
One down the other end, Mark? Right on the edge of the bottom on the other end? Yeah, right there. Is that a button?
Forget it. That's fine. I thought they were all the same. I guess they bought different left.
We're going to start the meeting. The Board of Appeals of the Town of Chelmsford will hold a public hearing Thursday, September 28th, 2017, at the town offices, 50 Billrica Road, room 204, to hear requests for special permits, variances, and other appeals. Our first hearing will be Suk Yai Tang, 4 Bowl Road, who's seeking a...
Go on.
Did I get it right?
Yeah.
Seeking a special permit under 195-8E2 to construct a new 14 by 36 addition to an existing non-conforming structure with lot area, front setbacks, corner lot, side and rear setbacks, which will now increase the nonconformity on the side and rear setbacks. Lot coverage will increase square footage over the allowable 10%.
Brian, she's just not here. They had an open house at school, so she has to be taken last.
So we're going to continue 4 Bull Road till later in the evening. Our second hearing is Edward Farrell, 15 Kensington, is seeking a special permit under 195-8E2 to construct a new addition and a second level to an existing non-conforming structure. Lot area, lot frontage, side setbacks will increase the structure over the allowable 30%. Someone here to speak for 15 Kensington? You give your name and your address and begin your presentation.
How are you? Edward Farrell, 15 Kensington Drive. I'm planning to extend my garage 9 to the right of the garage, making the garage bigger, and adding a family room to the back, approximately 16 feet past existing and all the way over to the full length of the garage, and adding attic space up above with a dormer for walk up from inside.
Okay.
No, I'm not extending any further to the front of the house, and I believe I meet the setback on the right side with the property line.
Nancy, do you have any questions on this application?
Not at this time.
Steve?
So the setback is 25.
25.5. I'm not quite sure if that's the issue or the 31.5 is what makes it non-conforming. I think the 25.5 is conforming.
It's non-conforming because of lot area and the front setback.
Right, right. The 25.5 is acceptable.
The only thing it's seeking a special permit for is over the 30%.
That simplifies things.
No questions. No further questions.
I have a letter from Mr. Farrell stating that he would like to put the addition on the back of the house behind the garage and add 9.5 by 20 feet to the right side of the garage. The addition off the back would be for a family room. The addition to the right would be for more garage space. I have a letter from the building inspector. This is not my letters. This is my letters. I have a letter from the community development with no concerns. I have a letter from Center Water with no concerns. I have a letter from Fire Prevention asking to read in the attached letter. The Zoning Board of Appeals regarding 15 Kensington Drive. Dear members of the board, the office has reviewed the proposal for an addition at 4 Bowl Road. So that is in the wrong file. I'm going to read it anyways. I think it's just a duplicate. The office has reviewed the proposal for an addition at 15 Kensington and finds the following. The entire home, existing and new construction, shall be equipped with life safety systems as required by 780 CMR 51, standard for new construction. The home shall have hardwired, interconnected smoke, carbon monoxide, and heat detectors in all required locations. 3 copies of the plans that clearly show all the required life safety devices shall be submitted to this office as part of the building permit plan review process. The office would approve this addition on these conditions, and I ask that the board make this letter part of the approval process. I have a letter from the building department with no concerns. There is a denial letter attached for the non-conforming structure, the front and side setbacks, and the lot area. I have a letter from the Board of Health stating no concerns for the property. This time I'll go into the audience and see if anyone has any comments for or against the project. Seeing none, I'll take a motion to close. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you waving? Okay.
Oh, I
That's all right.
apologize.
Now you have to speak. Come up. No.
I approve.
I'd like a motion to close the public hearing,
I'd like to,
and I think we can take this up right
Close.
now. Motion to close.
second that.
Second by Charlie.
Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is closed.
I think it's pretty
Comments, concerns?
I drove by it and it fit right in with the neighborhood, so I make a motion that we approve 15 Kensington for the special permit under 195-8E2.
Second?
Second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Good luck with it.
Nice job.
Just one question for the building. Do I have to resubmit everything and get a new permit?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
And there's an appeal period as well, you'll have to observe. The
Well,
decision is
call me and I'll
appealable.
let you
You
know.
can talk about that.
Yeah, just call me.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good night.
Set this one up? Oh, no. Excuse me, Chair, I have to go because I work for this guy too. I cannot sit on 10
On 10 Raymond, okay. Take your time. Susan Harvey of 10 Raymond Road is seeking a special permit under 195-61C2 to construct a new 24 by 56 second-level addition for a limited accessory apartment that will exceed 750 square feet to an existing non-conforming structure, lot area, lot frontage, and front setback, which will increase the structure over the allowable 30%, which requires a special permit under 195-8E2. Someone speaking for Susan Harvey, Mr.
Yes,
Flaherty?
I'm not Susan Harvey, no. I'm Pat Flaherty, I'm a surveyor engineer.
I'd
through
like
the
to
plot
make note,
plan.
Mr. Harvey, that there are 4 at this point, so you'll need a unanimous decision to carry the day.
All right.
You can postpone if that's an option, if you would rather have 5.
No, we'll go with the present board, thank you.
Very
Yeah.
good.
Susan Harvey is here this evening with her daughter, and the builder is here also, so if we have any technical questions, we can address him. But this is an older subdivision, so we can't meet any of the requirements for lot frontage and area, but we meet the side yard okay. And we just missed the front yard by a foot. But the years that this was built, you didn't need 40 feet, you needed something closer to 35. But this is going to be an in-law apartment on the 2nd floor, and to match exactly the footprint downstairs. And there's already 2 driveways on the property. So I feel that helps, that fits in a little bit better. And to me, the structure fits in with the rest of the neighborhood. They're mostly 2-story houses. And there seems to be plenty of space there, set way back from the street. So if you have any questions, you could let me know.
Nancy, do you have any questions?
Questions?
So the square footage for the limited accessory apartment is gonna be 1,344 square feet? Is that it?
45.
Yeah, 1345. It's a 2nd floor right on top of the existing. To the right-hand side of the house is sort of a sunroom situation, so we want to continue that upstairs too. So it will look right.
Okay. That's it for my questions.
I do actually have one question. The proposed stairs on both sides, are those going up to the 2nd story? Both sides?
Yes, they are. Yes. Yeah.
Is there going to be an access to the interior space, to the 1st floor? Is there a 3rd stairway in planned?
I'm not sure. Is there going to be? The builder says no.
Okay, so
Is there a floor layout for this limited
No,
accessory?
not yet. No.
How many
no.
bedrooms are proposed?
2. Identify yourself.
Stefan Vermogo, Maisons Building Corp., contractor for the owners. We're trying to mimic exactly what's downstairs, which is upstairs will be, let's see, 3 bedrooms, the kitchen area, 1 bathroom, and a living area. And that's what we're proposing.
Did you say 3 bedrooms?
Yeah, who's gonna be living here?
Yes, it's 3 bedrooms.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many people are?
Well, who's living here?
Renee, Suzanne's daughter, will be living upstairs with her 2 children, which are her mother's grandchildren. And so 1 bedroom for her, 1 for each child.
So the in-law will be in the lower level.
No, the in-law will be in the upper level.
Okay. Are we okay without having plans here for this?
I
I'm
mean,
kind
that's
of thinking that
odd.
we would like to see an actual plan.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's at the purview of the board. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I think you should have a plan.
typically the floor plans are to provide confirmation of the square footage that they're seeking. I mean, they're telling you it's the 2nd floor and they're seeking 1345. So I can't imagine the floor plan's gonna go over 1345, to be honest.
right,
But, I mean, still your,
I guess I'm trying to understand why it's an in-law application. I mean, are we okay with not having a stairway in the interior space? Is that typical? I mean, I know it's not typical, but is
part of
it
the bylaws is they're supposed to be,
attached?
attached, but they're supposed to be ingress, egress from the in-law apartment to the principal unit.
We're really not applying that there.
Not without an interior staircase.
And without a plan to see it, how can you confirm it?
Yeah, I think I'm going to suggest that you come up with a floor plan. So part of the problem is we allow 750 feet, and you've almost doubled it. Not really, but you're getting close. So understanding what's there, and I'm not really sure why this is an in-law if you're going to.
Well,
You
could I
can
have
put the
could I
second
could I have the
floor
owners
on.
speak for themselves?
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand.
Okay.
You're going to have two kitchens.
Yes.
You're going to have no access from
And
one floor to the
owners,
other.
the owner understands the rules and regulations of the in-law, all right? And it is her daughter and her grandchildren who will be living upstairs. And they just want to have a separation, you know, from that first floor to second floor.
Right. I'm thinking that's a little challenging because it's
Yeah.
really going to end up being like two apartments. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not
Yes.
really creating an in-law more than it's creating a.
Could
an
I have the
individual
owner
apartment.
speak for herself?
Oh, you certainly can. Yeah. Yeah. Welcome any
would you like to
testimony.
Come up.
Yeah, also, the single-family character, the two stairways, doesn't really,
Takes away from it.
kind of does.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Harvey. I live on 10 Raymond Road in Chelmsford. I've been a resident for about 40-some-odd years. And because I'm getting a little bit older, and I might need a little bit of help, my daughter and her 2 children will be moving in. And I'll be on the first floor because there are no stairs.
Right.
She will have the stairs going upstairs from the outside. We'll have a separate entrance for her.
I think a little of the concern is the 2 exterior stairways are somewhat problematic. And Mark was talking about having the character of a single-family home. Really, I don't know if it applies to the in-law as opposed to the
Does.
separation of the single and the two-family from the earlier zoning. Regardless, I think what we're going to ask you to do is come up with a floor plan of sorts.
Okay.
I'd strongly suggest you try to incorporate some sort of stairway, because if indeed you do need some help at some point, exiting the house and coming back in, it'd be a little bit challenging where a stairway, you can have doors that lock and such, it just,
You mean from the second floor down?
yeah. You have 2 stairways on the outside of the house, which is
Right.
somewhat unappealing visually. I mean, if you could show us a picture of it, it might be a better idea, but I'd suggest that we get a floor plan that designed, it's so much bigger than an in-law as well. It's
Yeah, it
almost
will
twice
mimic
size.
the first floor.
I think you could look at this as maybe not as much of an in-law as just a second-floor addition,
Right.
and it would be a better fit, but creating 2 separate apartments without access is going to be a tough row.
Okay.
And you're really creating a 2-family home. You're not creating an in-law by definition of the
I know what you
zoning
mean.
laws.
Okay.
And then the stairs as well being on the sides, I mean, if they were tucked around the back, it would certainly be better from the street to maintain the look of a single-family.
Single-family home.
Because that's what we're essentially having here.
Well, I have a small porch. And the addition, or the stairs, I should say, will be from the porch up to the second floor. And that will be the locked entrance.
Yeah, I'd probably suggest we get some better plans.
Yeah, I think we're going to request that we see plans, floor plans. They don't
All right.
have to be complete architectural plans, but plans
Okay.
that show it. And
All right.
I'd strongly suggest you consider putting a stairway on the interior space.
Okay.
Even if that means creating an addition that allows you to have a covered stairway or an enclosed stairway. If you don't want to move where they are, you
Right,
can look at
right.
enclosing this one of the stairways anyways, and maybe putting the other one out back, as Mark suggested.
All right. Thank you.
What we'll do is continue this. Our next hearing is
Next week.
October,
Yeah.
so we'll extend it past that. November, does anyone have a calendar?
November 2nd, I think. I
November
believe it is.
2nd?
I have to wait till then.
We have one in a week, which you cannot get on, right? We can't continue to that. So, yeah, you'd have to wait till November 2nd.
You can continue to next week.
We can continue to next week?
It's been advertised, it's open.
Is it full?
If you think you could have that done in a week, we'd be
I posted the agenda.
glad to see you next week.
I'll ask.
Is that too close?
Yeah, we'll do
You
something.
think? Okay. Yes, we'll be there.
Okay, that would be
So what is the
Thursday-
date?
Thursday, the 2nd of October.
Sounds good.
No, that's October 5th, I'm sorry.
Okay.
October 5th, it would have been November 2nd.
Oh, right.
Okay.
right.
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I think I'll read the letters in before we continue this, so that's out of the way.
We can skip that and do it. I'll make a note for you to
Okay,
read
so
them.
no letters.
Need a motion to continue?
I do.
I'll make a motion to continue the 10 Raymond Road, seeking special permit under 195-61C2 to the next meeting on October
2nd.
5th.
5th. October 5th.
I'll second that.
I'm gonna write that down right here. November 2nd.
October.
Do you have a second? All in favor? Aye. Meeting continued. Just take a second here and get organized. I got shit everywhere. Our next hearing is Parkash and Sanita Bedola, 310 Old Westford Road. They are seeking a special permit under 195-8E2 to construct a new 8x16 addition and a new second-level addition to a non-conforming structure lot area, which will now increase square footage over the allowable 30%.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Prakash, and we have been living in the same house for last 15 years. Now kids have grown big and they want bigger rooms, possibly bathrooms also attached. So we have only one bathroom on our floor. So that's why we are seeking an extension on the second floor. We have a house opposite to us, which is on 2 levels, so it looks similar to the house opposite to us.
Okay. Steve, do you have any questions regarding this application?
So you're basically replicating the footprint on the first floor to
Yes.
the second floor? And then,
Not the kitchen.
say that again?
Not the kitchen
Not
part.
the kitchen, okay. And you're adding an 8x16 addition on the first floor?
Yes.
Do we know what the increase in square footage is going to be when you're all done? Or the final square footage of the?
50%?
Mai will help to answer.
Good evening.
Good evening. We have your name
is my
and
brother.
address for
Okay.
the record.
My name is Mai. I'm the contractor.
Your full name, please?
Pitsamai Kamfilawan.
Thank you.
Okay. 313 Old Westwood Road, Chelmsford, Mass. And I think they will increase about 40% of the existing house right now. I mean, you talk about the square footage, it's about
Yeah.
1,000.
The existing house?
Yes.
Or what's your addition?
I'm not sure I understand.
Me either.
I'd say it's being about 110% bigger, isn't it?
Yeah, it's gotta be.
It's gotta be over 100.
Because you're doubling, plus you're
And then
adding
another
on the side, so
side,
it's
yeah.
gotta be.
On the back is a
A
deck. It's not it's a deck. It's like a 3-season porch on the back.
Okay.
That's a deck there.
Where the sonotubes are,
Yes.
windows, there's 2 stories to it.
24 by 42. It's about 1,000.
It is close. That's 1,008, and then you have the additional, was it,
8 by 16, is it?
yeah. Oh, 128, so the total added footage is 1,136. And the existing house
1,000?
was 1,008.
30,000 square foot. I mean, of the land.
Yeah, yeah.
And the front setback, the back, all the sides, all
Yeah,
set.
it's just the increase in size,
Yeah.
square footage.
What is the character of the neighborhood? Is it usually like same as this before? Are there 2 stories?
Yeah, Old Westford Road has a ton of different, mostly 2
They're all
stories, I
different.
would say, yeah.
Yeah.
Most of them are 2 stories, or larger homes. It's gonna fit the neighborhood well, I believe.
Plan looks nice.
Charlie, any questions?
No, I'm all set.
Mr. Corrado?
Go ahead, I got 1 more minute.
Take your time, take your time.
So the porch goes up to the second floor as well?
Second floor, yes. That's it's like no heat on that. It's like a 3-season porch.
Okay, and you're adding 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms?
Yes.
So the porch is actually 128 twice.
I know. So I was looking at the construction.
1,008. 1,008 again. Times 2.
Okay. I'm all set.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to go into the audience and see if there is anyone that has comments regarding this application. Seeing none, I'll accept a motion to close the public hearing. I have no letters on a special permit, right?
You should.
I have letters. This is the file. This is the file here. And I've got this, but I have no letters.
Going up 125%?
Get to 175?
125.
Oh, okay, okay.
That part that sticks out in the back is the kitchen. Just taking out the south porch.
On the lower level.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's enclosed, even at 3-season, it's still square footage.
Yeah.
thing I took out.
They usually stick them right behind the legal notice.
Why am I feeling the breeze?
Is this the only letter I have?
No, that's where I get
The
legal
denial
letter
letter,
from.
right, so that's
Right,
that.
well, there wasn't any.
All the way.
I know that. Mark's got his letter over there. Yes, Mark's.
I don't know what else they can use. This is all Bull Road. Should we put that before I insulate myself?
Getting a nice breeze.
That's good.
We're gonna need it done, we can fold them back on.
Anyway, I was just.
It doesn't appear we have any letters, so I will accept that motion to close the public hearing.
Is that you?
Motion to close.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
I think we should take this up this evening. No dimensional setbacks, just the 125% increase in size, which is not a surprise on the second floor. I think the neighborhood easily supports the larger building. Old Westford Road has a couple larger structures on it now, so I don't think we're going backwards with that. Would anyone care to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a
or
motion
have
to
further
approve
discussion?
the application at 310 Old Westford Road for the second edition, second level and the addition, as is.
Second that.
Second by Charlie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good luck with it.
All right, thank you.
Your management guy.
Yeah, okay, what's the matter? Good, bad, or different? Yeah, right. Our next application is Christine and James Donovan, 13 Smoke Rise Drive. They're seeking a special permit under 195-6.1C2 to construct a new addition for a limited accessory apartment to an existing conforming structure. Good evening.
How you doing? I'm Jim Donovan. I live at 13 Smoke Rise Drive. This is Robert Joe, our architect, and we're looking to put on an in-law apartment on the left side of our home.
Okay.
I'm more than happy to walk you through the addition. Do you mind if I point?
Nope, not at all.
I'm an architect, I have to point. The addition's off to the left side. We respect all the zoning setbacks. The one-story addition, we kept under the 750 square foot rule. I think we're at like 748. You guys met as much space as we can. We're also adding a small porch to the side. That's not enclosed, it's just a tire being together. There's an existing side porch. As you approach the house, there's a garage and a little side porch to it, which we're trying to match. The addition itself is kind of matching the overhangs and the taste of the what you see on the garage level. I have an interesting photo if you want to see it. So make sure it all ties together. 748 square feet. The kitchen inside, master bedroom, bathroom. Again, one story. We would also like to have a full basement underneath, if possible. That we didn't count that towards the square footage. That may or may not get built because of cost, and also because there's a lot of ledge on the site. And as you dig down, I'm sure you guys have seen it. You get ledge, it's tough to work with. There is also at the very back, there's a common area. That does not count toward the square footage. As I was reading your bylaws, common area doesn't count towards.
That's correct.
There's a doorway from the existing house and a doorway from the addition. So for little bit of privacy and also in case there's an emergency, you can get in.
Very good.
Kind of matching what we're doing on the garage area, you know, we're not supposed to try to make it look like it's full thing.
Absolutely.
Did you say you had a picture?
Oh, yeah.
The existing house?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, it's on my iPad, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I have drawings, I don't know if I'm not too sure if you have that.
I don't have those. Oh, thank.
This is as you approach the house, there's the garage on the left, the
yeah,
addition's
I
over
see
here.
it.
I was matching the eave heights and the pitch of the roof and, you know, try to.
I don't know if anybody wanted to take a quick look. It's
I
tough to
already
see the
drove-
left
I
side,
drove
but,
by
oh,
it.
you did? Okay.
And I already saw it.
I do have drawings too, of the floor plan and the elevation, if you want to see that, I might have to pull that out. I don't know if that was part of the.
Right.
I didn't get
Yeah,
that.
no, I didn't see it in there. If you had one easily, it really won't even be visible from the street, I don't
No,
think.
I don't
This,
think so either. Unless there's trees coming down.
Yeah, okay.
No, no trees coming down.
A little bit, this is
No.
the new porch. We're respecting the same depth as the back, about 24 foot, 8 over. We're just not over the 25-yard foot setback, but just like
You're
6
at it.
inches before.
Yep.
The addition is, kind of looks like this, across the back, excuse me.
Tough roof lines to match on
Yeah,
this
yeah,
front,
it's,
isn't it?
it's a
Like,
little high, big eave depths, and then also like a little roof pitch. So we got up to work, and that's what the addition is kind of.
Yeah, no, it's gonna look just like the other
Matches
side.
garage and
Yep.
kinda ties everything together.
Yep, that's good.
Thank
And where was the entrance, did you say again on that?
Oh, sure.
Where was the one-piece I was looking for?
Into the apartment, there's gonna be a long walkway, which is right here, there's a doorway into here.
Okay, from the
Which
porch?
you'll be walking down the living room, but there's also a doorway in the back to the outside too. So
Okay,
And
so
one
you're
in
not
the
gonna
door.
really see it, yeah.
Part of the common area, there's a door there which goes into the main house. So
Yep,
we can get in
that's
and out
good.
also.
So you have an interior entrance.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's kinda like a 3-season porch, but it's kinda
Yep.
like
Good
two
job.
doors on it.
Yep.
Did a really good job.
Like it.
I have the construction drawings too, if you wanna see that. Oh, it stands up.
Nope.
No, I think we're good.
Mark will want those after.
Stephen, do you have any questions?
Nope.
Charlie?
I'm good.
I'm going to go ahead and read the letters. I have a letter from the building department with no concerns. I have a letter from the Board of Health with no concerns. I have a letter from the Community Development Department. LAA is proposed to be, this is, apparently we found our Raymond Road letters.
Oh. Okay, there we go.
This is Raymond Road too. This is Raymond Road as well.
Thank you.
Those letters be stricken. This is all Raymond Road. We'll read those in next.
Just another thing to point out, the basement we're proposing doesn't include, is not under the common area, just under the living space only. This is the common area, here, there's no basement underneath that, but the rest of it will have a basement.
You have plans that show the basement?
Yeah. It's pretty simple, it's just raw space, nothing livable. Everyone needs storage.
Now, hopefully I have the right letters.
This is basically the foundation plan to post for structure. There's gonna be a set of steps right here coming down. All just raw basement storage space.
What's the ceiling height in the basement?
Probably about 6, 7, 8, a minimum. If it's under, if we hit ledge, and say if it's like 4 feet, we'll just make it a crawl space underneath. There's a lot of ledge on site, so as you know, as you start digging down, you don't know if it's
So at this point, it's an unfinished basement, and we don't have to concern ourselves with it, whether they go 4 feet or both up. I'm going to read the letters from 13 Smoke Rise. The building department has no concerns. The Board of Health has no concerns. The Community Development Department has said confirm compliance with 750 square feet max requirement. I think what we're going to ask you to do is stamp the plans at the 748 you had mentioned, or whatever is right. And the common area, again, is excluded from that. Center Water District has no concerns. Fire prevention has attached a letter. The Zoning Board of Appeals regarding 13 Smoke Rise. Dear members of the board, the department is concerned that there's more than one dwelling on a property, then occupancy should be identifiable from the street. This office will require 2 mailboxes identifying the property as 13 Smoke Rise Drive and 13A Smoke Rise Drive. The applicant shall submit an application for the address to the Chelmsford 911 Community 911 Committee and its coordinator, Town Clerk Patricia Druez. This department is not interested in the official change of address being recorded on the deed. It is only our intent to distinguish this home to emergency responders. The limited accessory apartment and the existing house shall be brought up to the current fire alarm code according to the Massachusetts State Building Code. The applicant is advised to contact the fire prevention officer prior to submitting plans. This office would approve this plan with these conditions, and I ask the board to make this letter part of their approval process. Respectfully, Captain Dan. And that is our letters. I'm going to ask now if anyone in the audience has any concerns or questions that they approach the podium at this time. That 0.
Seeing none, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Have a second from Steve?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hearing is closed. Okay. Take this up this evening?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept the application as submitted for the limited accessory apartment at 13 Smoker Rise Drive.
I think we'll just require that we have a stamp plan showing the
Yeah,
square footage
right.
of the property.
And taking into account the letters from the
Yeah,
Fire department, yeah. Honestly, it's
got written
good
in.
to have it in there, but it's part of the approval process anyway, so.
I'll
But we'll
second
include
that.
it.
Yep.
We have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Good luck with it. Everyone likes you when you do it. You're like a great guy.
I'll be back in a little while. I'll be back on.
See you, Charlie.
For Gorham Street.
Okay.
I'm gonna be
Moving right along. Our next hearing is 61 Carlisle Street, William Harvey, for a special permit under 195-13 for a conversion from a single-family to a two-family dwelling unit.
Good evening, board members, Mr. Chairman Reedy, Ms. Morency, Mr. Mendez, Mr. Carrera, and Building Commissioner, Mr. Dupel. My name is William Harvey. I'm the owner of 61 Carlisle Street, and I'm submitting an application before this board under Section 195-13, conversion of dwellings, to convert a single-family dwelling located at 61 Carlisle Street into a two-family. May I approach and hand out some pamphlets?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Need this for the record?
Yeah.
As you can see, I handed you the application as well as supporting documentation with index documentations 1 through 10. I first would ask you to go to tab number 3, which specifically references section 195-13 of the town bylaws. Specifically, it's a short paragraph, conversion of dwelling units under section 195-13. Alteration of a single-family dwelling is existing at the time of adoption of this chapter in 1938 for occupancy by not more than 2 families is permitted in accordance with Article 3 of this chapter, provided that the lot contains not less than 15,000 square feet
and the exterior design of the structure is not changed from the character of a single-family dwelling, and provided further that at least 600 square feet of living space shall be provided for each of the dwelling units. Relative to tab number 1, I've submitted a memorandum in support of the special permit, which outlines that the application meets all 4 of the requirements. Requirement number 1, the applicant has provided the Chelmsford Board of Appeals with a copy of an application filed with the Massachusetts Historical Commission, as well as a copy of the Town of Chelmsford's assessor's card, evidencing that the dwelling was in existence prior to 1938. The dwelling, as indicated by these documents, was built in 1973. Therefore, the applicant has established...
1873? You're short here.
Did I say? Sorry, 1753.
Is that your birthday?
I propose that the applicant has established criteria number 1, that the dwelling existed prior to 1930, excuse me, yeah, prior to 1938. The applicant has provided the Chelmsford Board of Appeals with a plan of land stamped by a registered engineer and learned surveyor, Whitman and Bingham Associates, Inc. It's tab number 6, that the lot exceeds the minimum requirements of 15,000 square feet of land and contains 46,446,000 square feet of land. Therefore, I propose to the board that the applicant has established criteria number 2, that the lot of land at 61 Carlisle Street contains a minimum of the 15,000 square feet required. Requirement number 3, the applicant has a history of protecting and renovating historical homes in the town of Chelmsford. All of the historical properties owned by the applicant have all maintained their historical character. Upon purchasing the subject property, the applicant invited the Chelmsford Historical Commission to tour the home and permitted an assessment of the property and photographs of the interior and exterior to the property, including the historic barn located on the property. Furthermore, I've had a meeting before the Chelmsford Historical Commission. There was a unanimous vote on that to support the conversion. And in saying also, with regards to numerous historical properties I've renovated, I could name 75 North Road, which is a Simeon Spalding house, 34 North Road, and I'll just reference one of my most recent purchases, which was a single-family house at 91 Billerica Road, which was the Hildreth house. That was a single-family house. I didn't have to go through a conversion because it's zoned RC. It had a minimum of 20,000 square feet. That was converted into a 2-family. If you drive by there, you'd never know it's a 2-family. It retains its look as a single family. And before I did any work over there, I had a meeting with the Historical Commission. We worked together on that to preserve the historical character of the outside. And again, there was no major renovations to the outside at all. And that would be my statement to the board, is that with regards to 61 Carlisle Street, there will be no renovations to the exterior of the dwelling in order to make this a 2-family. All there would be is minor renovations to the interior. And if there were any renovations to the exterior, the Chelmsford Historical Commission would have to more or less grant approval through Mr. Dupel, the building commissioner. But as proposed, there won't be any exterior renovations at all to the property, and it's going to remain looking as it is. The 4th requirement, the applicant has provided the Chelmsford Board of Appeals. I'd reference tab number 5, the assessors card, as well as tab 7, which is the floor plans, that each living space meets the minimum requirement of 600 square feet. The plans provided exceed the minimum requirements and provide 1,638 square feet of living space per unit. So with regards to the requirements for this board to approve the special permit application, I propose that I met all 4 requirements, and I'd request that this board grant the special permit. In addition, I provided copies of recently approved Board of Appeals decisions with regards to conversion of dwelling units. One was 198 Boston Road, which was approved on October 6, 2016. The other one was 33 Stedman Street, that was approved December 1st of 2016. And Mr. Chairman, may I approach? I'd like to submit the applicant's proposed findings.
Thank you.
With regards to the proposed findings, these are not findings that I decided to write up myself. They mirror image the findings that were by the board with regards to the 2 previous projects, 198 Boston Road and 33 Stedman Street. And I'd ask for the same consideration that those 2 applications had.
Anyone have any questions at this time? Certainly appears that he has met the 4 requirements of 9513. If there are no questions, and Mr. Harvey, I apologize, I should have made you aware we are a board of 4, so it'd be a unanimous decision to make this approval. You have the right to continue. I just should have told you that up front, and I apologize. I didn't think of it. Are you comfortable with that?
Yes, I am.
Going ahead with the 4? Okay. Are there any questions at this time?
Nope.
I'm going to open this up to anyone that would like to speak, either in favor or against this application.
My name is Dan Sullivan, 4 Shed Lane, in a butt of the property. By chance, do you have the plan of land of 61 Carlisle Street?
We certainly should.
Item number 7.
Do we have it on the computer?
That's tab 7.
I also had a question regarding 19513 being accepted by the town of Chelmsford. Do you historically know the reasoning? My understanding is it was to allow the sellers or the owners the potential to maximize the value of their property.
Could you repeat that, sir?
Section 19513 was adopted by the town of Chelmsford. I'm looking to see if anyone knows any historical significance from that.
The original intent of it, as I understand it, was in 1938 they created zoning in town. Prior to that, you could do whatever you wanted, anywhere you wanted. When they did that, sort of as a, I don't quite know how to describe it. What they allowed is anyone that had a property standing at that point had the ability to turn it into a 2-family home. So if you had property in 1938, that was your right. This application is somewhat by right. It doesn't really have an approval process. He proves that he has the 4 conditions met, and it's pretty much an accepted practice. There's no real denial if he's met all the applications. He has it by right if he's met, which I believe he has.
Well, that's understood.
Surprised
I
that we
just
don't
wanted
have a
to ask a
picture
couple of questions regarding, I understand he has the 46,446 square feet of land. Does this home still go under the same guidelines as far as the amount of square footage required for a lot in Chelmsford?
It would have it by right as a single or a two-family home. So he's not required to have the 40,000 square foot for a legal lot to make this application. Is that your question?
Well, he's making it with the 46,446 square foot lot. I was just wondering if with a two-family, if that made any difference with the frontages, side setbacks, or anything else.
The only two families allowed in town that aren't allowed by this 195.13 is an RC zoning, and that would have less requirements than the 40,000, I believe.
RC would be by right, two-family.
Right, but that's the only two-family we allow, so, but it has less.
20,000 square foot.
Right, it would have to be a half an
25
acre. It's
So it's even less stringent.
right, it's less restrictive
Okay. I
for a
just,
two-family.
again, I understand the 195.13, and I pretty much agree with it.
Do we have a plot plan on file? Do we know?
Yeah, we do. I didn't put it on the,
Tab 6?
I mean, I don't really question, we're so far past the 15,000 mark that I don't think it's a problem, but it really should be on file here. Need that?
I get my book back from him.
Yeah, we have a stamp plan of, is it labeled 61?
Is it still up there?
Yes, it is. So the project summary is for number 61 Carlisle Street, certified by Whitman and Bigham for 46,446 square feet. Good to know. Is there anyone else who would like to speak, either in favor or against this application?
Hi.
Your name and address?
My name is Richard Weber. I reside at 2 Marshall Street. And I have two main points I'd like to bring up to at least try to delay this permit. The first relates to the installation of the spiral staircase on the back of the property. If you remember back to, during the April 6th meeting when the permit was originally pushed through, the diagram showed that there was a stairwell expected to be there. The physical property did not have a stairwell present at the time. During the site visit that occurred prior to the May 11th Board of Appeal meeting, there was a spiral staircase installed there. Somehow, I believe a permit to install the stairwell was requested, and it was delayed until after the decision was made. So essentially, this stairwell was installed without a permit being in place there. I'm mainly asking to delay this just because modifications were made to the exterior of the house, applying for it, removing the permit, and applying for it again to try to work around and get an approval for an unapproved, unpermitted staircase kind of seems to work around what the board is trying to do. That's the first item there.
Do you have a position on the status of the staircase?
The status of the staircase is it was permitted and it's legal.
What was
The permit issue was cleared up.
okay? So it was
It does
okay
have a
that
building permit that has been inspected and is a legal staircase. And seeing that happened prior to this application, we have to take the house as it is now.
okay.
You know what I mean? If that improvement is made before the application, technically it is a single-family house right now. Its design, including that staircase, is a single-family home. Even though the intent is to make it a two-family home, until it's applied for, putting that stairway there does not make it a two-family home.
Okay. And along the same lines, does the current permit show a spiral staircase back there, or does it show a staircase that's more in line with the?
What we saw was a straight line staircase drawn into the plans here, not a spiral staircase. And I understood that had been resolved. I didn't realize that the spiral staircase remained. I thought the existing picture was in fact
I'm not sure.
The correct
I'm not sure
one.
if the spiral staircase is there. I know it was there through the majority of the summer, so I don't know if it's been corrected.
Sorry, is
in
it a
past,
spiral staircase at this point?
Mr. Harvey?
Excuse me?
He's asking you.
Is it a spiral staircase on the property at this point?
I think it's irrelevant.
Well, your plans don't show a spiral staircase.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's relevant to the plans.
Okay.
That you showed us, the
Question, that's
plans here
fine.
look
So-
like a straight one.
There's an exterior staircase. It's been inspected by the building commissioner. Building commissioner signed off on the staircase.
But then why doesn't the plan show a spiral?
Why doesn't it show a spiral?
Yeah, why
Because
does
at the
it-
time when I had the plans done, it wasn't my intention. I wasn't thinking that far. I knew there was gonna be a staircase there, but whether or not it was going to be an exterior, I knew it was gonna be an exterior staircase going down. But I decided to do the same type of a spiral staircase as I did at 75 North Road. And the reason for that is, number one, I did speak with, not Mr. Dupel, but I did speak with the assistant building inspector and just asked him his professional opinion on what type of a stairwell would be beneficial for myself as a long-term investor. Although the cost was more or less double, I decided to go with the metal staircase because I wouldn't have to put a roof on it. It's better for insurance purposes, and it's more sturdier. So I decided to utilize the same company in the same type of a plan that I did at 75 North Road. So I went with the spiral. But not only that, is the board should recognize that it's nearly impossible if you're walking the street or even to the right side of the house or even to the left side of the house to see the spiral staircase. It's stuck in the back, really close to the house. You can't see
Personally,
it.
I wasn't concerned about that
Yeah.
at this point. It was permitted. You put it up. I'm just curious why the drawing didn't show it that way, that's all.
Just
Kind of a
didn't,
simple-
just didn't think about it at that time. But I decided at that time, maybe a wooden staircase would be better. But in reality, down the long run, it rots, it's not safe, and I decided to spend the extra money.
Did you have another one? That's what I was.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to understand it. I don't
Yep.
think it's really, it's a structure that's permitted and inspected.
Right, the drawing should be
You know,
updated.
I don't find it especially historic. I was very surprised to understand that the Historic Commission feels the front of the house is the factor that determines what is disturbed and what is not. I didn't think that was really the right way to go, but that's the way they read it. And I think that we have a permanent structure on the property. It's before us is a single family with a, you know, with any improvements as they sit.
The second set of concerns I have are with regards to open violations reported on C-Click Fix against the property itself. Mainly, I'd like to see those issues addressed prior to granting the permit.
Which issues are you referring to?
So the first one is with regards to a zoning violation where the garage appears to be used as is being used as a commercial garage. The barn is being used as a commercial garage. There's a second violation regarding the quantity of automotive chemicals being stored in the facility there. And then there's a third with regards to constant parking violations along Carlisle, according to subsection 20326.
Are you familiar with these, Mr. Dupel?
I could address the first one. We did receive, well, Community Development Director Evan Blansky received a C-Click Fix-It via the website on violations. Inspector Allen went out to the alleged violation of commercial use of the barn and found no violations. As far as to the other ones, I have no idea.
It was a parking issue on the roadway?
Yeah, so according to subsection 20326, there's certain areas of Carlisle that you're not allowed to park between on the shoulder there, and there's there's constant parking violations that occur during the week, during the night, during the weekends. It's pretty repetitive. The main thing is that these have been open for several months. I haven't seen them closed. I haven't seen them be addressed. So I mean, if they're fixed, it would be great if they were just closed out and marked as such.
I'm not sure where the people, I think that if there's a violation in parking, you can report it to the police department and let them do their jobs. We don't really have any
It's not in our purview.
purview or leverage to enforce parking violations. I think that's the police department.
Okay.
If, we can ask Mr. Harvey to pay attention to his parking habits, but it's not, we're the Board of Appeals.
Okay. All right. I just didn't know, just looking at general behavior, what kind of things occurred on that property reflective of the applicant itself.
Yeah, I mean, we really, in this application tonight, the way it's set up, is we're looking at the 4 criteria that I believe he has met personally and provided evidence for. Other than that, we don't have,
okay.
The parking is something, if someone's parking illegally, then you can call the police and have them enforce the parking laws.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Pat O'Grady, 18 Shed Lane. I just had one question. The permit request is with a land usage of 46,000 square feet. So that means the lot can't be divided? And if it was, this permit would not be valid?
What is before us this evening specifically is to create a 2-family home out of a single family, which are 4 criteria to meet. If he was to divide this lot at some future point, it's totally his right to apply where the law allows. What we're looking at tonight is simply this application with the 4 criteria.
Okay.
Which I believe he has provided evidence to my satisfaction.
Okay.
The board will certainly vote on it. Are there any other comments or questions from the audience?
Hi, I'm Karen Christensen from 66 Carlisle Street. I just want to state again that this is a historic home. It was, I believe, the only home in East Chelmsford at that time for approximately a mile in either direction. And I really feel that it should be preserved as is, not broken up into a 2-family, as well as, which you're not discussing right now, but will, the additions, kind of the loss of the barn, the addition of another barn, more units, so on and so forth. This is a residential neighborhood. A single family on 1 acre is the standard, and I would like to see it remain that way. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there other comments or concerns? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing. Motion by Mark, seconded by Steve. I think we should take this up. I feel myself that by right he has met the 4 standards, and this should be approved.
I agree.
Agreed.
I'll need someone to make a motion.
Make a motion to accept the application to convert this single-family dwelling to a 2-family at 61 Carlisle.
I'll second that.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
You're not allowed
Work with
to say
it.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like your file back?
Mr. Chair, our applicant for 10 Bowl has arrived.
Okay. Be a good time to take that up, I think.
4 Bowl.
Yeah, because
We're both.
start
All right, let me just get organized with that.
The beginning.
Charlie come back halfway, right?
Yeah, he can come back in.
We're going to open the meeting that we continued for 4 Bowl Road. Good evening. I'm just going to read this into the record. Suk Yai Tang of 4 Bowl Road is seeking a special permit under 195(8)(E2) to construct a new 14 by 36 addition to an existing non-conforming structure. Lot area, front setbacks, corner lot, side and rear setbacks, which will now increase the nonconformity on the side and rear setbacks. Lot coverage will increase the square footage over the allowable 10%. Good evening.
Good evening.
Could I have your name and address for the record?
My name is So-E Jody Tan, resided in Forbo Road in Chelmsford.
And why don't you tell us what you'd like to do?
Yes. We currently have a one-story ranch, and our members has been demanding more space because our kids are growing up. And right now, what we have is not enough for us for a growing family. So we propose to extend from the back of our house. As you see on the plot plan that was done by a certified company. So the shaded area is the proposed area that we want to extend. So for this extension, it will give us a new room, a good size of a new bedroom, a new bathroom, and our kitchen will be extended about like 9 or 8 feet.
Okay. Have any questions, Nancy? We'll start with.
I do not.
A quick question. Did you reach out to your neighbors? Is that how you got this letter?
Yes, actually, I talked to our neighboring, the border that we next to our neighbor is Joe and Norma, and I went up to their house and talked to them about what we are planning to do, and I seek their consent, and they also signed a letter to support the idea that we are going to expand.
Okay. I think at this time I will read the letter I have from a neighbor. Or two. This letter is from Mrs. Tang, actually. I had one from a neighbor here.
I think she had a form letter that they signed. Did
It's
you
a
do the
form
form
letter?
letter?
Yeah,
for
signed
your-
by the Schultz.
Yeah.
Oh, is that, so there is no name, okay.
Yeah.
So this is
You have the
from
copy?
Mrs. Tang. Did you have a letter from a neighbor?
It's in the.
I have the,
They signed
okay, I
off our letter.
yeah, I submit a
okay, I have an
letter
electronic copy
that's
of it.
signed by them.
Yeah.
I see, my apologies,
Just
yep.
have one.
I have a letter from Joseph and Norma Schultz. Dear board members, we'd like to expand our home at 4 Bowl Road from our backyard in order to add a new bathroom, 1 new room, and extend the existing kitchen to accommodate our needs. We have discussed this plan with our neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Joseph and Norma Schultz. They said they supported our plan. Below, please find their signatures acknowledging their awareness and support of our home expansion. And Joseph and Norma have both signed the letter. I also have a letter from Mrs. Tang. Dear board members, we reside at 4 Bowl Road, which is a small lot in the Westland area. We'd like to expand our home from our backyard in order to accommodate our growing needs. We have a certified plot plan to lay out our proposed addition. to lower what we propose to add to our existing dwelling. 1 new bedroom, 1 new bathroom, extend the existing kitchen, relocate the bulkhead. We appreciate your understanding and thank you for your attention. Sukyai Jodi Tang. I have a letter from the Board of Health citing no concerns. I have a letter from the Building Department citing no concerns, requesting to see the denial letter, which we have read into the record. I have a letter from the Fire Department with concerns. Dear members of the board, the office has reviewed the proposed addition at 4 Bowl Road and finds the following. The entire home and existing new construction shall be equipped with life safety system as required by 780 CMR 51, standard for new construction. The home shall have hardwired interconnected smoke, carbon monoxide, and heat detectors in all required locations. 3 copies of the plans that clearly show all required life safety devices shall be submitted to this office as part of the building permit review process. The office would approve this addition on these conditions, and I ask the board make this letter part of their approval process. Respectfully submitted, Captain Dan. Is it
Catufus.
Catufus.
Like you're sneezing. Catufus.
I'm never gonna say it like that. Okay, and that is the letters. At this time, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor or against this application? Seeing none, I would accept the proposal to close the motion.
Motion to close the public hearing for 4 Bull Road.
Second. Second by Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
I suggest we take this up?
Yep.
Yes.
I think so. I think
There's
that's the only
definitely,
place they have to go, so.
A hardship with
Yeah.
lot and front and
So
side
it's-
setback being on a corner.
In seeing so, I'd like to make a motion to grant the special permit under 195(8)(E2) for the new construction of 14 by 36-foot addition.
Second?
Second by Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
Good luck with it.
She gets it.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Good luck with it.
Thank you.
Okay, double one.
Goodness.
Okay. Chucky Manual.
That's not it.
You're it. Tag, you're out.
Sure, everybody got them.
Almost out. This is gonna be easy.
Yeah.
Just think easy.
You guys get in there. So that's the next thing, so just
Okay.
because Melissa's up next anyway.
Okay. No, look who's back in
They
town.
can take it out of order. Yeah, they're gonna take 73 North Road. This is your presentation? No, that's the. Oh, right. Fix your nameplate so everybody knows who's yelling.
You wanna let Harvey know he's on?
Grab Bill. Grab Bill.
Okay, we're doing Dalton Road next.
I believe we are. I'm just looking for my,
Oh, this is like crazy.
Bill, which one do you want to pull up first?
We're going to step over Emmanuel Farms LLC, 50 Hunt Road, and go to 73 Dalton Road, an application for a comprehensive permit. Good evening.
Good evening, members of the board. William Harvey. I'm here tonight as a submittal to the town of Chelmsford for request for the issuance of a comprehensive permit pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 40B. This application was submitted August 7th of 2017. I've submitted a quite a large exhibit list that I hope will cover almost all of your questions and concerns, if any, about this proposal. First of all, as you may be aware, this was a LIP application. This was done for a local initiative program through the town of Chelmsford. I first requested town support for this project. It's a small project of 5 units. I'd first like to read the letters of support from the town, which was Exhibit 5. So we have the administrative letters of support, which is the Chelmsford Board of Selectmen. That letter reads, "Dear Miss Cornegay, after a session at our regularly scheduled Board of Selectmen meeting with the proposed developer, Edward B. Bell Estates Development, LLC of Chelmsford, Mass., and its advisors, the Chelmsford Board of Selectmen voted on March 21st, 2016 to support a local initiative program, 5-unit rental development to be known as the Edward B. Bell Estates. The Edward B. Bell Estates proposal consists of an existing residential vacant lot containing 23,745 square feet of land with an address of 73 Dalton Road. The project, with 2 affordable rental units and 3 market rate rental units, will not just meet the statutory requirement of 20%, but significantly exceed it with 40%. The property will require no demolition of any homes, no relocation will be required. There are no known existing structures with historical value. The project has unanimous support from the Chelmsford Housing Advisory Board. The project, located on the corner of North and Dalton Road, presents no safety issues with respect to the site distance for traffic, and the road is capable of additional trips resulting from this development if approved. Public bus transit, Lowell Regional Transportation Authority, is available within walking distance to the site. This bus services connects with the Gallagher Intermodal Terminal in Lowell, providing access to the MBTA commuter rail. That was through the Board of Selectmen on a unanimous vote. In addition, there was support from the Chelmsford Housing Authority, March 4th, 2016. Dear Mr. Harvey, the Chelmsford Housing Authority has reviewed your updated proposal to construct a small-scale 5-unit rental development that will include 2 affordable units pursuant to the requirements set forth in Chapter 40B. In reviewing the plans in your proposal, we are confident that these new 1-bedroom rental units are needed in the community. Our agency is committed to supporting the development of affordable rental housing in the town of Chelmsford. In addition, we are willing to act as a monitoring agent and lottery agent when this project moves forward. If you need any additional information or assistance, please do not hesitate or contact our office. Furthermore, I appeared before the Chelmsford Housing Advisory Board. Again, the Chelmsford, another agency, voted unanimously to approve this. Dear members of the Board of Selectmen, the Chelmsford Housing Advisory Board met on February 17th, 2016 to review a proposed 40B development at 73 Dalton Road. Our board voted unanimously to support the project. As you know, the HAB Charter calls on us to assess proposed housing developments for conformity with goals and strategies of the town's 2011 Housing Production Plan as approved by the Board of Selectmen, the Planning Board, and the Department of Housing and Community Development. In particular, we support this project for the following reasons. Although the property is not identified as a priority site in the HAPP, Housing Production Plan, the proposed location and project is compatible with strategies identified in the Housing Production Plan, specifically 5.3.3, which calls for low-density multifamily housing on the outskirts of Chelmsford Center. 5.3.13, which recommends redevelopment of underutilized property in mixed-use neighborhoods, and 5.4.6, which encourages the local initiative program applications that are consistent with the housing production plan. The property would not be evaluated as a priority site due to the housing production plan's focus on higher impact developments. However, if the evaluation criteria of the housing production plan were applied to the proposed project, the Housing Advisory Board's assessment based on the presentation we received is that it would score well. The proposed project will provide rental units, which the housing production plan indicates is the preferred housing type because it is where the most need exists, and all units will count towards the subsidized housing inventory. The applicant has a history of successful developing housing in Chelmsford that fulfills the need for housing while blending in with the existing neighborhood. The Housing Advisory Board supports this project. It meets the goals of the Affordable Housing Plan, will bring us closer to the Chapter 40B certification, and it provides much needed and moderately priced rental units. And furthermore, tab 6, with all the support that was received by the town departments, at that time I submitted the application for the LIP before the Department of Housing and Community Development. An individual from the Housing and Community Development did a site walk with the chairman of the Board of Selectmen at that time of the property, and after the assessment, drafted a letter to the Board of Selectmen dated August 25th, 2016, approving the site as well as the application, and here I am moving forward with it. So there's been significant progress. All the boards that have been involved have unanimously supported this low-density, affordable housing project. As I stated earlier, it consists of 5 rental units, 2 of which will be affordable, not only meeting the 20% requirement, but exceeding it with 40%. Now, the Edward B. Bell Estates will be located, as I stated earlier, at a vacant lot of land identified by the town of Chelmsford. Assessor is parcel ID 62-280-15, which is tab number 3. It's a vacant lot identified by the town with a legal address of 73 Dalton Road. The lot is on the corner of Dalton Road and North Road, directly across from the Simeon Spalding House multifamily complex consisting of the historic Simeon Spalding House, circa 1736, containing 3 rental units, and the newly constructed barn-like structure consisting of 5 units. The Edward B. Bell Estates project, with 1 unit for each 4,749 square feet of land area, will have a density comparable to the Simeon Spalding development, which the planning board recently approved an increase to 8 units, from 7 to 8 units in 2015, which is 1 unit for each approximately 5,000 square feet of land area. It's also important to note that I also completed an affordable housing project on B Street, which was a 2-family, and one of the units is managed by the the Chelmsford Housing Authority, and that is rented to it's an affordable unit rented to the town through the Housing Authority. And that lot is a 10,000 square foot lot, which is more or less 5,000 per square feet per unit. The vacant lot we were talking about at 73 North Road will have no adverse effects whatsoever on the environment or the neighborhood, and there is no wetlands on the vicinity of the lot. All of the necessary utilities, including municipal sewer, are available, and the traffic impact will be minimal. Furthermore, as I stated earlier, the project will meet the statutory 20% affordable requirement by significantly exceeding it with 40%. The summary of percentages is on tab 12. With regards to myself as a developer, I'm a lifelong resident of Chelmsford. I'm an attorney. I'm licensed to practice in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. I have significant experience in development, construction, and management of single and multifamily residential properties. Just within the town of Chelmsford, I have 9 multifamily rental properties. And as I stated earlier, one of those was developed through the LIP program, and it's been very successful. Now, with regards to the developmental team information, I'll primarily be the developer of the project. I've always been the developer of all my projects. The contractor that has been contracted to do this project is Alan Costas, who I know Mr. Reedy knows very well, being in construction yourself. And the company's name is Finest Builders, Inc. Their business location is at 1 Southwood Drive in Chelmsford. Mr. Costas has been in the construction and development field his entire life. He also was the developer contractor that I hired to do 75 North Road, which was the 5-unit barn-like structure. What's unique about the proposal before you is that the structure to be built has the exact same architectural plans related to the interior structure as 75 North Road. The only difference is the outside will significantly be different. It'll have a different look, obviously a different color and a different style of a house, but with regards to the footprint, the size of the units, they'll all be the exact same as across the street. It'll be a mirror image relative to the inside of the building and the construction of the building. The engineer, also a local person who I'm sure that you're all familiar with, Brian Melissi from Whitman and Bingham, who's provided a site plan. And we also have the marketing and lottery agent will be going through the Chelmsford Housing Authority, with David Hedison being the executive director. The Housing Authority has already drafted on their own an affirmative fair housing marketing plan, which is tab 17. In addition, the Chelmsford Housing Authority has already drafted a proposed affordable housing lottery and monitoring agreement, which would be signed by myself, the Housing Authority, as well as the Department of Housing and Community Development, with regards to moving forward with the project. Now, with regards to the exhibits, there's numerous exhibits. I understand that this won't be under any consideration tonight for approval, and I'd ask that if the board members could just review them for the next meeting. If there's any questions, relevant questions, we could just go through them. So with regards to the exhibits, we get the new Chelmsford Affordable Housing Plan of 2017. We have the plan of land that was recorded at the Registry of Deeds, which is a separate parcel. You get the assessors database with regards to any and all information that you need regarding 73 Dalton Road. Tab 5 is, again, all the administrative letters of support, unanimous letters of support. Tab 6 is the completed Department of Housing and Community Development LIP application. Tab 7 is the approval from the Housing and Community Development. And once again, we get I put in the excerpts from the Chelmsford Housing Advisory Board's housing plan of 2005, 11, and also the 17. 9 is required through the LIP application through the Department of Housing and Community Development as a pro forma. The site development plans that are stamped by a registered engineer, Whitman and Bingham. We have the scaled architectural drawings of the building itself. As I said, it's going to be the exact same building as 75 North Road, so you'll know exactly what is going to be built there, other than the outside, which I provided a photograph of what the building will look like. Tabulation of the proposed building and summary of the percentages, which states where the affordable units will be, as well as the fair market value. The requested exemptions, which I'll go over now, since there is a site plan. So the requested exemptions, with regards to this project, as we all know, it's zoned RB. Zoning in RB is residential, single-family use. The proposal is to construct a 5-unit building, which is not obviously consistent with the zoning chart, which is why we're here before 40B and asking for the requested exemptions with regards to the zoning. Also, another requested exemption would be the lot area. Being zoned RB, the minimum requirement for a lot in an RB zone is 40,000 square feet. What's being provided is 23,745 square feet. And as I stated earlier, with the prior 40B that I've done, as well as across the street, the math comes out to about 5,000 square feet of land per unit. I'm also asking for an exemption with regards to parking, with regards to the number of units, the number of bedrooms. Per zoning in Chelmsford would require 9 spaces, which shown on the plan is 7. So I'd be asking for an exemption relative to that. Now, there are also numerous other requirements with regards to being in a zone RB district. And all of those other requirements are met with regards to lot setback, frontage, which is important, and all the other requirements that are required in the RB zoning district. So those are the minimum requested exemptions that would be asked for your review. And in addition, this is a 40B that's it's quite remarkable. It's different from the other 40Bs that have been before you in the town. This is a 40B where there was significant thought of going into this, and rather than rushing directly to the state and ignoring the town boards, I decided the best approach is to go before the town boards and first see whether or not this would be a viable use and whether or not the town would accept this. And that's what I did. I went before the boards that are required, the Housing Advisory Board, Board of Selectmen, and also the plan was presented to the Chelmsford Housing Authority. It's a small scale development. I think this gives the term 40B a little bit of a better outlook as opposed to most of the other 40Bs that come before you, where you're looking at 100, 200 units, where the developer hasn't gone before any of the town boards to seek input or seek their guidance or even seek their approval. Again, this is different, and I put a lot of thought into it. As you can see through the pamphlet, I think I've tried to think of every possible documentation that you might need, you might think of, that might answer any and all of your questions. So if you have any questions with regards to the initial presentation, I'd be more than happy to try and respond to those.
I personally would like to review this a little better. It's an awful lot of material. Does any of the board have any questions at this time?
Just have one. The agenda says it is advertised that it will contain 5 one-bedroom rental units, but tab 12 says there's going to be 2 that are 2-bedroom.
That's obviously, it's an error with regards to the agenda. Okay. The proposal is 3 one-bedroom market rate apartments, 2 two-bedroom affordable units. Okay. That plan was, the initial plan, you're correct, it was 5 one-bedrooms. That was the initial. Okay. It's been modified The modification plan, again, went through all the departments, the Board of Selectmen, the Housing Advisory Board, Chelmsford Housing, Chelmsford Housing Authority. In addition, also, I got the okay from the Housing, Department of Housing and Community Development is aware for that, and they don't have any issue. And in fact, the town actually needs more 2 bedrooms, and they certainly would need 1 bedrooms. If it was 5 1 bedrooms, I'd meet the parking requirements. By doing the 2 bedrooms, that's what kind of why I'm asking for the relief.
How many parking spaces are you short?
2.
7 was the number and 5 is what you'll have, is that correct?
No, I believe that 9.
The number, 7's
9's the number and 7 is what you have.
Exactly.
Right in tab 13. It's laid out there. Tab 13, it's all laid out.
Yeah, I'm gonna go through this, I really didn't.
No, but I mean, it'll give you a quick overview of the
Right.
exceptions.
I'll make note of that.
Was there a traffic study done? Because I see the declaration by the board, but
I'm gonna plan on taking it.
was there a traffic and
Oh,
safety
sorry.
study done?
No, there was not.
Okay.
That's what I do.
And again, when I constructed the 5-unit building across the street, a traffic study wasn't required for that either.
Do we happen to have a letter from the police department? Did you read the letters on this?
I haven't read any letters yet, no.
The police may have reviewed that.
Two files here, I'm not quite sure why. File for this page 2, that's why I'm confused. I have the building here. I have the file here.
Got 3 letters today. Engineering, conservation. Let me look through the file and pull it downstairs.
Okay. Elaine's gonna find the letters. This is, that's the original letters for everything.
Did you happen to did the applicant happen to get copies, Colleen?
What's that?
Did the applicant happen to receive copies? prior
No, I
to?
just got them at like 5. Wait, I'll print some more.
I think we'll go into the audience and see if there's any questions or concerns from the citizens at this time. Ask you to please state your name and address, any concerns you have.
Steve DePoyan, 79 Dalton Road. Presently, any rainstorm that comes down the Dalton Road, I'm at the lowest level. It comes right into my driveway, right into the garage. He puts up this big building. He keeps saying it's a small building. It's going to be a big building. In the parking lot, where is all that water going to go? And I don't know where the driveways are. I didn't see the driveways on the map. Where do they go? Where do they intersect? Is it going to be 1 driveway or 2 driveways? Egress opening? Is there enough room for a fire truck to get around that building on that lot in case there's a fire?
We're gonna find these letters.
Okay.
And there's a letter from the fire department, from the police department, and they'll answer some of our questions.
Okay.
There is a single driveway, I believe, coming into the property for this development. Can I see the
There's no
plan?
egress open?
We can open this up for you. Colleen actually has it on digital, but she's looking for letters. This is existing.
Like one driveway across two.
What it's showing here, sir, and you're certainly welcome to come up and take a look. I think that Evan is trying to locate it. There's going to be an access point from Dalton Road leading onto the property, and it's going to intersect with the existing driveway that comes off of North Road now. In that area, they'll pull around the back of the proposed unit.
You want to go up and take a look at the plan?
Yeah.
Now, this is Dalton Road.
Yep.
This is North Road. This is the existing driveway coming up here. He's proposing an additional driveway here that would come in here, allow the parking. There'd be a handicap spot, 19-foot.
So fire engine couldn't get around that building in case there was a fire.
I'm going to say that, I mean, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the requirement. The fire department is certainly going to respond to the application. I know they have specific requirements for it, and they have a much larger ladder truck now. How that affects this thing is we're going to wait for their letter and see what they have to say about that.
This is the Google map. That's from 75 North Road.
Yes, sir.
And this is his lot there. This is that, whatever that lot is. How does
Correct.
that fit there?
I agree with you that it is 42 feet from the front, 26 feet from the back. He's not actually looking for dimensional relief in that sense, meaning that it fits as far as the setbacks go. But we are working with a lot that I do believe is less than 40,000 feet.
Yeah.
23.
23.
Sir, do you want to take one of these large plan sets? Is one of the board members able to give?
Take one.
Yeah, that way you can review it at your leisure.
Thank you.
Over the next 2 weeks or so, when it's continued.
Well, I just, 30 years ago, I put up an addition to my house, and I was building a house behind me. Right now, the roaches live there. And the neighbors around me were concerned about drainage. So I had to put in a retention hole and had to grade all my land from my extension plus that house into this retention hole. Now, if this is granted and all that water's coming down Dalton Road, I'd really like him to put a retention hole in and hold that water into this pool so it doesn't come down Dalton Road. Can that be
We are going to require
considered?
engineering to assure that water does not leave his property. It's not his right to have the water leave the property. He has to maintain, based on the calculations of an engineer, that this is going to maintain the water that falls on that property is going to be treated on his property. You can't let it go into the street. No one can, as you learned your years back. The impervious surface that's on this property will be treated and kept inside by an engineering standard.
All right. Thank you.
While Colleen's looking, you want to try to see when you would continue this, a date that you would continue this to?
Yeah, I mean, I really would like to extend this past the October meeting because I think there's enough information here that in a week we will not be able to review it.
So you're looking at a November
So
date?
I would think that at this point, we would consider the November 2nd meeting. Is that a Thursday? That date work for you, Mr. Harvey?
Yes, sir.
And just while we're waiting for Colleen, do you recall any technical issues?
No, I don't. There
Okay.
was a, as you know, I previously submitted an application which was done too soon, and there were letters actually read on record, and there wasn't any issues with regards to the fire department. The fire department requested that the building has to be sprinkled. There was no issues with the police department. There was no issues at all.
I don't recall any issues.
And that may have been, I'm not sure if Colleen reissued did you find them?
Yep.
Okay.
Excellent. So we'll read those into the record tonight, and that may well answer your question. But, you know, the engineering of the site will be correct and certified by an engineer. I believe in this case, the town would be the reviewer of this?
I didn't get her.
On the plans, it does show a retention area for the water.
And again, I don't want to try to review it during the meeting. It just doesn't seem practical.
I'd be available November 2nd.
None of them had concerns.
Okay. I think that we'll hold that off, but the plan will be to continue this meeting to November 2nd.
Thank you.
About the data. Is there anything that's in here that's not on the online submissions, or is it all?
I scanned it
No,
all in.
I submitted everything to Ms. Stansfield.
Okay.
Are there stormwater calculations?
I would assume they would be on the plan. I have to look again.
We'll follow up with Brian.
Yeah, I mean, there's a plan that shows where the drainage is. There's, the drainage is taken care of on the plan. And it can be reviewed by the town engineer.
She did do a review. We just need to track down her letter.
Right.
So we have a letter from the engineering division. No, this one is from, I'm sorry, Center Water, which has no concerns regarding the application. Edward Bell Estates, 73 Dalton Road. We have a letter from Katie Messier, conservation agent, regarding Carlisle Street.
It was both of them. It was 61 Carlisle and 73. She didn't have any concerns.
Okay, so regarding that, we do not have a message from Katie yet regarding 78 Dalton Road.
Oh, yes, it's right there. She
Should be
didn't have any
included in
concerns.
one email,
Letter?
both projects?
Yeah, it's 73 and 61. Both of them.
These hearings are scheduled for tonight's meeting. 61 Carlisle Street has been requested to be continued. I did not send for these for review as early as I normally do. My mistake. Colleen. Oh, I'm sorry. Katie has written here, no comments on either of them.
Yeah.
So Katie has chimed in. The police department has no concerns. And those are the three letters I have. I have not heard from the fire department yet.
Did you have engineering?
And I do not have engineering.
I do have hers.
Okay, so
I do not have Board of Health.
we'll get that for the next meeting.
Those three letters are missing at this point. We can enter them on the November 2nd hearing.
So just one administrative item before we officially continue this. As you note, Town Council Paul Haverty is here, primarily for the applicant. Are you willing and able to establish an escrow for payment for Town Council to serve as the board's special counsel or Town Council on this matter?
Well, what would the escrow amount be? I mean, this is a small project. I just would like to have a figure. What amount would be reasonable?
I mean, it's going to be entirely dependent on the number of hearings that we wind up, but you can, yeah, I mean, I think a $5,000 escrow would more than likely cover the entirety.
We could work, I mean, we can work it out.
That's fine. That's fine. We could discuss that at
all right.
We could discuss that. I could give you a call. We'll talk about it. I don't have an issue. That was just a previous letter from a member of the Board of Health that was read on the record last time that I had in my file. And that may have been that was probably the reason why this was converted from 5 one-bedrooms to 3 one-bedrooms and 2 two-bedrooms.
I'll read this into the record, but I think we'll still continue to get our standard form letter from Mr. Day. On January 17th, 2017, this is addressed to the Board of Appeals regarding 73 Dalton Road. Dear board members, please be advised that this department, as stated in our response, I've made a correction there, to the planning board, find the plan submitted showing the offices being included in the layout of these residential units to be misleading and will create a simple conversion of an office into a bedroom. These units will cause future issues for all department unless treated for what they really are and will be in the future. Sincerely, Richard Day, Director of the Public Health. I guess we'll look and see what the interior design is. Is there a second room without a closet, I suspect?
Yes, the plans are in the,
Yeah, we're gonna,
full plans are in there, yep.
review.
So what happened was the 2 bedrooms are legitimately 2 bedrooms, are the exact same size, closets with doors. The single 1 bedrooms, what I did was I enlarged the bedroom, which decreased the second room, so it doesn't have, per the building code, it does not have a closet, and it won't have a door. And as my tenants across the street, they have 2 rooms that are the exact same size, and 1 room is always used as a bedroom. The other one may be used as a guest or an office, and there's never a significant amount of people there. It's always a couple or it's a single person. I always monitor that because of the parking. So,
How many spots do you have at your North Road site for parking?
I have probably 1, 2, 3. I have quite a bit. I probably have at least 12 spaces. I've never had any problems with parking, but at the same time, when it comes time to rent a unit, I always keep that in consideration. And it's usually a boyfriend, girlfriend, and they have 2 cars, or there's a single person with 1 car. So currently in the red building, the 5-unit red building, there are 2 single people, and the other units have 2 people living in them, boyfriend, girlfriend. So each person has a car. There's never been a problem.
A total of 10 cars? 10 people, 10 cars?
Yeah.
And with guests, you might imagine there are more?
Like I said, there's never been an issue.
And one of these spots is a handicap spot, one of the 9?
It's required to have a handicap spot.
Right,
yeah.
correct.
One of the 7.
So that really leaves you 8 spots for the same.
No, one of the 7.
This
You're
one
talking
has,
about,
this one has 7.
he only has 7. He should have
9 was a
9.
requirement, that's correct, that's
Yeah, he
correct.
only has 7, one of which is handicapped.
Handicapped.
So there's 6 non-handicapped spots
Yep.
for
5 units.
3 2-bedroom.
No,
Two
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 bedrooms,
bedroom,
3
and 1 single bedroom, with the additional office space / not a bedroom. Oh, maybe we can look at a larger parking area somehow. Are there any other comments from anyone sitting tonight?
Hi, I'm Sarah DePoyan from 79 Dalton Road, and I do have some concerns about what was said earlier about wetlands, and my husband kind of alluded to it, but there are wetlands in the North Road, Dalton Road area, across from 75 North Road, that corner of Dalton, that is wetlands. And then
I don't think anyone said there's no wetlands. There's no wetlands that come within the purview of this application.
and our backyard.
And are you
and the
next
lo-
door to the applicant?
We're 1 lot down. In the spring, especially in the last 3 or 4 years, our backyard is a mud hole for quite a while, even with the retention. And again, my husband can tell you about mowing the lawn. It's difficult in the spring.
Sure.
I have been looking on North Road and parking. If there are 12 spaces, I can tell you that on August 23rd and the 24th, I walk every morning. Every space was full. and that's with 8 units. Both the red barn, as he's talking about, and the White House.
Home to the front of
So
it.
they are completely full. So it is a concern about 7 parking spaces for 5 units. Traffic. In the evening, the traffic is backed up for a good hour, hour and a half on Dalton Road. In the morning, again, I walk in the morning, it's backed up, you know, on Route 4.
I am familiar with it.
So I
That's
am very
difficult.
concerned, since this morning, we had an emergency at the house next door to us. It happens. And there were 3 police cars and a ambulance there. If it had happened an hour earlier, it would have been bedlam. I mean, worse than it was. I am concerned about the size of the building and the pavement, even with a retention hole, and I would urge everybody to look at it really seriously. We have a sump pump in our cellar. I don't know what our neighbors have, but I would imagine they have dampness also, if not water. And we have an acre of property with a single-family home. I do think this will change the neighborhood. There's nothing I can do because it's, you know, it's approved 40B type of thing. But I do think the size of the building, if it could be smaller, you know, we could work out all these other issues. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Yep.
We will have the engineering will be reviewed to make sure
I know you're going to have the engineering and everything else, but things are changing quickly. And I mean, we have water, and we didn't have it before, you know, 3-5 years ago. Why? You know?
Yeah, I understand your concerns.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Matara Ortiz. I live at 77 Dalton, which is right next door to this building. I'm actually just concerned at the way it's going to actually turn the neighborhood the way it looks, because it's zoned single residence, but directly across from my house we have 4 units. To the left is 3, and now directly to the left they wants to be 5. So that's, the whole area is not single residence anymore at all. It's the whole corner of Dalton and North is all apartments, and that's not what the area is supposed to be. So that's one of my concerns, and it's just a huge structure that is just, you're gonna, if you approve it, you're gonna drive by it and say, whoa, that's not something we should have let go there, because it just looks out of place. It's not going to blend in.
I understand your concerns very clearly. I will reiterate this just to be clear. This is under a state statute, Chapter 40B, which allows the construction and the overlooking of town zoning ordinances if the town does not comply with the amount of affordable housing as required by the state. When that happens, they basically say the zoning in the town does not apply.
Right.
I completely understand with your concerns, and I just want you to understand that we have it's really very hard to deny a 40B project. As a result of, it would end up in land court and it would be approved. So what we try to do is mitigate that and create something that is as appealing as possible. That's our goal here. To deny it is really, it's really not going to be a good option. But we'll certainly see that we can build the best thing for the neighborhood, the town, and the developer himself certainly has his rights.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak this evening? Seeing none, I think I'm going to ask for a continuance at this point. We still have a bit of project to get along through. We have an enormous amount of information to assimilate. And I would ask for a motion to continue this till November 2nd.
Motion to continue to November 2nd.
By Mark, I have a second.
I'll second it.
Nancy, all in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Grab him.
They'll come right in, they know.
Oh, he needs to come back in.
Bill needs to come back in.
You're gonna open the hearing for 61 Carlisle?
I believe that is the plan.
No, we need to have him.
I think we need to do that.
Ask him if he has an extra folder while he's at it.
Should've just let you at home. You're gonna open 61 Carlisle, you have to open the hearing.
Yeah, I was wondering if Mr. Harvey was gonna come back in, or we,
I would read the legal ad, open the hearing.
okay.
Well, no, don't do that just yet.
All right.
That's what we need him for, is to clarify whether he wants us to continue and giving us an extension to open the
You
hearing.
think that was clear?
That's not clear in
Okay.
in the email that I saw. If he's giving us an
Wanna go out there?
extension to
I
open the hearing, yeah.
Go out there. You wanna do 50 Hunt Road while we're waiting? The variance, 50 Hunt Road?
If Melissa, you ready? Yeah, we can do that. We're going to, we're gonna go ahead with 50 Hunt Road. That's a clarification. What do we got going? Get over there, sit down.
So we have to work from the files. Is that Don't play with that. Work from the
Manual
file.
Farms LLC, 50 Hunt Road, is seeking a variance under 195.9, conformity of a rear setback of 6 feet with a required setback of 30 feet, and any other relief that may be deemed necessary.
Good evening, members of the board. Good. Good evening, members of the board. Attorney Melissa Robbins from the law firm of DeShane and Farrell. I'm here tonight to request a variance for 50 Hunt Road, and I understand your technology's not working. So I think the plan in your packet that you have actually has the setback and all the information on it. The lot, for those of you that don't have the plan in front of you, the lot is located in the RB zoning district, which requires a 30-foot rear yard setback. As you know, this is an existing structure, and I think the building card from the assessor's office has this built in about 1880. I'm not sure exactly when the accessory structure was built, but it is considered a historical structure, and therefore we do not want to remove it. The lot was created as part of the comprehensive permit process for 50 Hunt Road, and as the board is aware, the board has the authority to create non-conforming lots as part of the comprehensive permit. But there is unclear case law as to what happens to the title of the lot that's non-conforming or the structures that are non-conforming after the board creates that lot. So just on the, just in the air of caution, we're going to continue with the variance request tonight with the board to ask that the board grant variance relief for the setback that was created as part of the 40B lot line adjustment. So the 40B lot line adjustment only affects the accessory structure on 50 Hunt Road. It's the garage. The garage is at an angle, and it has 3 setbacks. At the front corner, it has 6-foot setback from the overhang, a 10-foot setback from the center, and then a 7-foot setback from the backhand corner. So you can visualize it as a kitty-cornered. I think largely the placement is in that area because it's adjacent to the house, almost directly to the rear, and also the lot is constrained with wetlands and 200-foot riverfront area to the front of the property. Again, I'm sorry that I don't have technology to point that out to you. As the board has to go through.
We do have the plot plan.
Oh, you do have the plot plan now, okay. The lot does have a hardship owing to the soil shape and topography. It's given the limited location that this structure can be placed. Given the riverfront and wetland frontage issues, we have to place it behind the rear of the building. So there's really not much of a better location that this can be placed. Obviously, this is an existing structure. It's been in place for a long time, and to remove it would be a substantial detriment to not only my client, but would also require action from the Historical Society. this variance can be granted without a substantial detriment to the neighborhood, as this is actually not asking for any sort of construction or new construction. We're just asking for the board to grant us relief to allow for the remaining structure to remain in place. So I would ask the board grant the variance to allow the existing garage structure with a rear yard setback of up to 6 feet to remain on 50 Hunt Road. And I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Yes.
Can you show me which, like on this paper, which garage
Yeah,
we're
read, yeah, this,
talking
it's
about?
really not good. It's not a good copy.
This is the project.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the wrong, yeah, there's a plan, more detailed plan,
This is the dwelling right
This
there.
is the plan.
Okay.
So if
we
you
can
look, this is
expand
the
that a little.
accessory structure right here. Right here.
It's in the back corner.
Right, this is the back corner.
This thing?
Yeah, so this is an overhang, it's 6 feet, 10 feet, and 7 feet, so this is an accessory structure.
Okay.
The house actually conforms, there's a pre-existing nonconformity that we don't have to deal with, but it's the accessory structure with this lot line creation that causes an issue.
So where's the 6 foot is this?
6 is off the overhang, which is considered structural in Chelmsford. And then
Okay.
there's a 10 from this corner and 7, so we're asking
Oh, I
for
see.
up to 6 feet to allow the existing structure to remain in place.
Okay. Following all that?
Yeah, so so we created this separated lot when we did the 40B proper.
Yeah.
The White House in the corner that exists now has a non-conforming barn structure that we put a line there, and now this doesn't conform.
Okay.
It's allowable. What we're gonna do is grant a variance, so there's never any title issue with that property being non-conforming.
And that is a garage.
That's a garage, yeah, the White House is on the
Existing
corner
house,
of
okay.
Hunt.
Yes.
And the garage is just 6 feet away. So all we're doing is making sure that if this is ever sold, it has clear title.
And the variance is actually just to allow the existing structure to remain. We're not asking for construction of any new
Worst case,
structures.
they would take that down, which means you have to go to historic. I mean, this is this the oldest structure in town, is that?
I think it is. I actually laughed, I think, when I read the assessor's card. I think it has it in the 1700s or something, but I've been told that that actually is the case, so.
That was on the, so we don't need, thanks, I don't know what that, taking that down would probably not be in our best interest. Any questions?
None?
No.
Got it.
Are there any questions or concerns from the audience this evening? Seeing none, I don't believe I have any letters. I don't have any further evidence to admit. I suggest we close the public hearing and take this up.
Motion to close?
Okay. Motion by Nancy, a second by Steve. All in favor? Aye. It seems there's two options. They either take down the barn and make it conform, or we allow the variance, which seems harmless, and I don't think we really have any business taking down the old structure in.
Motion to grant the variance at 50 Hunt Road to accept the changes and setback caused by the 40B lot.
Second by Steve.
Second.
We done?
All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay, I do have you.
61 Carl, no action needed for this evening on the comprehensive permit. That will be on your November.
We're asking for a continuance.
So the applicant has granted an extension of the time for the board to open the hearing until its November 2nd hearing. So you do not need to open the hearing tonight.
Okay.
We have it signed, we'll clock it in tomorrow.
So we're gonna continue the following hearing, which is.
Not going to continue, we're
No.
not going to open it.
No
We're not
action.
gonna open Carlisle Street,
action,
an
no
application
action.
for a comprehensive permit.
Right.
Because if you open the hearing and then continue it, now you're on the clock for issuing the notice
Right.
under the safe harbor, so we don't want to do that yet.
Okay, so
On the
we're
flip side,
just.
you were on a 30-day that was already extended, but you were on a time frame for when you had to open the hearing, and that time frame has now been extended until November 2nd.
Do we need a motion for that?
Uh, I don't think you need a motion.
You have a
no.
letter.
All of you are able to
Clock in.
attend November 2nd?
Right
I know
now.
we already continued at least 1 or 2 items to November 2nd, but you're all able to.
It's a big day, huh?
Yeah, November 2nd should be
Just
pretty
pressing
busy.
the wrong button. It's this
Why?
And we may have Jack on that. It's getting to just be a list, that's all.
Oh, you're fine with room.
Will it be as much fun as tonight, November 6th?
It's possible.
Tall order.
Okay, so without a motion, I guess we can continue on to 7 Gorham Street and 1 Pineview Avenue, an application for a comprehensive permit. And this is a continuation, so we do not need to read in, right?
Good evening again, members of the board. For the record, my name is Attorney Melissa Robbins from the law firm of Duchesne and Farrell. I think, as you may recall from the last meeting, there were many outstanding issues that the board had raised, and we're ready to address some of those this evening. The only issue we will not be addressing this evening is to traffic and the access to Pineview Avenue. And that's largely because our traffic consultant from MDM was not available this evening. So we will be asking that any discussion related to traffic be continued to the next hearing, but we would like to address all the other concerns of the board. We've made significant progress from the last hearing, as I think the board can tell from the letter in the packet. I think Christina's first letter to this board had 52 comments, and we're down to 9 this evening. So that's a short reading for tonight from Christina. Largely, those comments are technical in nature, and Mr. Hamill, who's here from H-Star Engineering, has addressed most of those in writing already. There are some slight changes we need to make for a plan for a completely clean letter, and there's at least one issue as part of Christina's packet that I would like to discuss with the board tonight, but I'd like to wait just till we get to a discussion on landscaping. Just quickly, some of the quick questions I can answer for the board that they had raised at the last hearing that I wasn't able to answer. They had requested that a list of all state permits be added to the plan set. They have been added to the plan set, and also you can see that that was addressed in Christina's letter. Dumpsters have been removed from the entire plan set. I can actually go to this plan. Dumpsters have been removed from the entire plan. As we made the board aware, we plan to go through private curbside pickup for all units within this development. The great thing about that was it allowed us to use those dumpster areas for additional parking, which removed the need for us to have any parking on the street whatsoever, and actually made us in excess of the 2 parking spaces needed per unit for this development. So we're now in conformance with parking requirements, need no on-street parking to get to that level. So that's great news with the removal of the dumpsters. Also, the board had asked what we were going to do on these 1-bedroom units where there's no garage, where would we put trash? And we've actually added a dog house or a little tiny structure on the side of these 1-bedroom units because they're the end of the units. So they'll be on the outside, so they'll actually have an area to put their trash away during the week prior to trash pickup. As many of you saw today on the site visit, the perimeter fence, there is perimeter fencing almost all the way around the project site, and it's the intention to leave all of the perimeter fencing. Most, if not all, of that fencing belongs to the neighbors and is not of the ownership of either of these project sites. The only fence that'll be coming down is the one from Pineview Avenue, but the one actually facing the road front. The one directly to the left-hand side that's closest to the red house, that will all remain to the closest neighbor to Pineview Avenue. And obviously, we're going to try to keep as much of the landscaping around the perimeter as well that's on the inside of that fence, because it's only a benefit to the project and the abutting properties. And we'll go through that in a little bit more detail when we get to the landscape plan. There were some other general questions regarding snow storage and parking and some other technical issues. I'd just like to turn the floor over to Bert Hamill from H-Star Engineering to address those concerns.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Bert Hamill from H-Star Engineering. I'm the project engineer of record for this particular site. We've since our last meeting about a month ago, we've made a great number of changes, as explained by Ms. Robbins. We've increased the parking. There are 7 new spaces along the northern side there of the roadway. They're effectively visitor parking, but we took a look at it. We talked to the town engineer, Christina, and she was very, very much on board with that change. We also, based on comments from the fire department, put a no parking area along the entrance on Gorham Street on both sides, some striping, just because we do not want to block that entrance, since that is the primary access to this particular project, and we want to keep it so. We had a question about snow storage. We have 5 snow storage areas on the site. They're outlined up there in various locations.
You can go up to it.
Total about, that looks kind of clumsy, about 7,600 square feet of area. We have about 17,000 square feet of roadway. The normal proportion for snow storage area to roadway area is usually a 4 to 1 ratio or a 5 to 1 ratio. We're at about a 2.5 to 1 ratio. So you can see we've provided a great deal more snow storage area. The other changes that we made to this particular plan, and it's outlined in a letter from Mr. Papadopoulos, town engineer, is the DPW offered or suggested that we waive the playground requirements and suggested that we instead make that a area up in that triangle area, which is about 10,000 square feet, into a passive recreation area, and that we make a donation of $8,000 to the town for their playground park area down at 63 Carlisle Road. We're more than happy to accommodate the town in that respect. However, that would require the approval of this board.
Just for clarification, where you're proposing to put the snow is where it says snow removal area?
That's correct.
Did you, I mean, when I look at that, I'm concerned about how that might stack up to the entrance and exit there on Gorham Street, if that were to be stacked high or out to the street.
No, it's off and away quite a bit. I mean, yes, we would be concerned that it would
yeah, it would hurt the sight
would
lines.
affect the sight distance. There is going to be a fence remaining there, and that would keep the setbacks off by about 8 feet or so. There's also a sidewalk there that we've maintained, so anybody pulling out would still have a very good view down Gorham Street on both.
And will your traffic person be able to address that too?
I believe so.
Okay.
But we're, like I said, we're going a little overkill on snow removal because who knows how bad it's going to snow in a particular year. So we're trying to accommodate those particular aspects. The drainage on the site remained virtually the same. We just dealt with some errata on the plans to make sure they conformed, that they were all consistent within. Let's see. Did want to point out that these are the areas, the green, that is going to be landscaped. We have spots in between each of the parking. We have the perimeter being entirely landscaped. I'll get into a little more detail of that when we get to the landscaping plans. But as you can see, a large percentage of the site is going to have grass or trees or shrubs or whatever our landscaper has chosen to put there. These are the architect. Do you want to get into the architecturals at this point?
The board had raised some concerns at the last meeting just regarding the building height and wanting to make sure that the building height was in conformance with the town regulations, because there is a definition on how to get to building height in Chelmsford. So we do have David Cochran from our architect here, so he's just going to briefly run through these slides to show how all of the buildings meet the building height. So we won't be going in again into architecturals like we did last meeting. This is just for height only.
Hello, my name is David Cochran. For the record, I'm from DB2 Architecture in Woburn. And so as you can see, there isn't any major changes to the outward appearances to the buildings that you saw last time. But we did investigate the maximum building height allowed by the city of Chelmsford, or the town of Chelmsford, and did find that our 2-bedroom unit type is exceeds by 3 inches, so we made an adjustment. And we changed the slope on the roof pitch by a measure of, it was 6/12. We reduced it to 5.5/12 and there's no noticeable difference or detraction from the aesthetic that we were going for. So now we are in compliance, and the tallest any building is on the site is 34'6". So building 2, being comprised of all 2-bedroom types, is now at 34'6". The 3-bedroom type is at 33'8", and there is building 4 with a 1-bedroom type that is at 23'11". So at no point does any of the structures on the site exceed the maximum building height.
Just to clarify, that's per the zoning definition of building height.
Correct.
There may be parts of the roof that are
Right, and we've recognized that grading will be an issue, and we'll take the mean average, but to be safe, now that no part of any structure is above that max height, we feel
I
comfortable.
didn't want people in the audience or the board thinking that parts of the roof weren't above 35.
It's the mean, I think. Of
Correct.
Right, taken from grade around the building, so.
Mean from the grade and the mean to the
to the ridge. And so that brings us on to landscaping.
Our landscaper was not able to be with us tonight. Lorraine Black did the landscaping plans, and I got the short straw, so I'm going to try to do the presentation on this one. Basically, what she's done is she took the site entire. We gave her, the parking layouts, the roadway layout, places she couldn't go, and she put together a plan with a series of trees, shrubs, and so forth. I would like to point out that, as you saw on the site visit tonight, the passive park area, if you will, is somewhat heavily treed with some old growth trees. I mean, some of those trees got to be 40, 50 years old. If possible, we would like to keep those trees as intact as possible, cut down minimum number of trees. One, they provide beautiful screening. 2, they provide massive amounts of shade, which is consistent with a passive recreational area. To augment that, we've provided the high, low, and medium shrubberies throughout. Other areas which would be grassed to stabilize the site. As you can see, we've got any number of shrubs. We've got a very wide variety, which I'll get into in a little bit. But we're doing some planting throughout the site. We're going to make allowances with those trees for, obviously, our snow removal areas and any other issues we might have. So a couple of these plants might move around slightly, but this is the basic idea as to what we have, is to provide a high green quality environment for the residents. And we think that this plan will absolutely do that. This is the other end of the site. You can see she left my detention pond open, which is down in the far lower corner. Again, lots of plantings, all plantings along the fence lines and maintaining the existing plantings there as much as possible, as much as feasible, to provide maximum screening both for the neighbors and for the residents. So we think we've maxed this thing out. We've got, as you can see down in the far low corner, a variety of shrubs. We can get into the particular varieties. We got details for planting the things, maintaining them, and of course, any replacements we would have to do to keep these things alive. These are what the shrubs generally look like, trees and so forth. As you can see, they're colorful, they're perennials. They do bloom at different seasons. So this site will not be just plain green or gray. It will have some color, some life to it. We think it makes it much more desirable to have this sort of variety. Purples, the oranges, the reds, all throughout the site mixed in, this sort of variety. That's pretty much what I have.
I know that Bert had hit on it, but I would like to discuss with the board what their inclination is towards the park issue. We had showed a playground on the plan, and Christina and the town engineering department wasn't satisfied with our location. But instead of trying to find a new location or changing the grading in that area, the suggestion was there's a park nearby that needs beautification and some overhaul. And a gift to the town would satisfy that issue, would give the children that live here as well as the children in the neighborhood a benefit. So if the applicant would be inclined to give the gift for the neighborhood for the playground off-site, she would be in support of that. What we would agree to do in the alternative on the site is to leave that area that some of the board had seen today in the backhand corner. Oh, I could kind of cut off on both of these slides. Open. So that entire area there would remain open as usable, passive, open space. What we had thought about doing is putting maybe a pocket park in there with some benches just so that it could be used for passive recreation and building the playground off-site. We're ready to agree to all of Christina's other conditions, but obviously we can't agree to that one without the permission of the board or the advice of the board on whether or not they want to proceed that way. So I would like to just have a discussion with the board about how they feel.
How far away is that?
Yeah.
Oh, less than a quarter mile, I think.
Is that what the
At the
softball
end?
field is?
No, it's, you would cross over 495 and continue. It's really across the street from Mr. Harvey's property.
That's the end of it.
On Carlisle Street.
Yeah.
That didn't go on.
Is that the one with the softball field and then the playground?
Yes, and there's another softball field that's actually, I think, in Lowell. But once you cross over.
The roads aren't very safe and there's no sidewalk, you should also consider that.
The playground is on the US right down
Right. So we know that the playground wouldn't be a walkability for the residents here and within the site, that it would have to be a playground just like many other playgrounds in Chelmsford that residents would have to walk to. And it's being seen as not a project-specific initiative. It's a neighborhood and town of Chelmsford initiative. So we do understand the fact that this will not, that people are going to have to get in the car if they want to go to the playground. They have usable open space out here, certainly places to play, but if they want an actual playground, they will have to go to it, which I think is a net benefit to the neighborhood.
Is this similar, didn't you facilitate with this board McKennedy Drive, McKennedy Farms, are similar?
Yes.
Do you guys recall
was
McKennedy
a wet
Farms,
meadow,
a
I
cluster,
think they-
That's
cluster
right.
subdivision?
And as an
The zoning, this board, the zoning board, and I think you were the
Cluster zone.
attorney.
Yes, as an amenity to the neighborhood, we kept and there was a couple daycares on the back portion of that property. We agreed to keep the back area open, and all the open space out there can be used as a benefit to the neighborhood, so that they can use that open area. So it was very similar, that it was a neighborhood amenity.
Personally, I feel that if we're keeping the passive recreation area, not encroaching that with any other buildings or anything, I think it would be a net benefit to invest in the playground and have the passive recreation area. I don't know if anyone else has thoughts on that.
I agree with that.
I'm kind of against it, Brian. I can't see driving down the road to go to a baseball field when you could make one right here. I mean, I just can't see it. I'm not happy with it.
I think we could put it to a vote. I don't know if anyone else wants to chime in on their feelings on it.
I still want to look at it. I'm not in love with it myself, so.
Why didn't she like the location of it?
It's in a drainage area, so there was a slight depression. I mean, there are things that we can get around from an engineering standpoint if we had to put a playground, and obviously we could move the playground location. We're not talking about a giant playground out here, and you saw that the space out there today has plenty of space, even with the drainage area, for a playground. So certainly the amenity could be given to the people within this development. It would just be limited to the people within the development, and it would be on site.
And I gotta tell you honestly, I thought it was beautiful where the playground is going. The trees are mature, they've been pruned for many years. You can tell that someone took a
Took
lot
care
of
of
care
them.
of building a glade.
Right.
I think it would be a great place to play, honestly, without putting a playground proper there. There's soccer balls and that sort of thing that allow you to play without climbing on a structure.
Sure.
Not to belabor the point, but I know there's a couple members that are giving this additional thought. how or where did the $8,000 figure come from?
That was the figure that was given to us. I mean, I think that was Mr. Hamill had the discussions with Christina, but I think that was a number that the engineering department had.
That was not a number that provided an equivalent of what the developer was intending to invest in a
No.
playground on site.
No.
It was, she called me out of the blue on a Friday afternoon and said,
Yeah, so was
"We got a
there,
deal for you."
so
Right.
just talking out loud here, if the majority of the board wants to see some sort of play structure on site, is
Sure.
there a possibility to provide
Yes.
a play structure on
Well, and
site?
To Mr. Reedy's point as well, you could put, there's plenty of mature area out there. You could still have a small swing set and some recreation for the children without building a giant.
What I'm thinking is maybe provide
still give
both,
the gift.
and then reduce
Yes.
the 8,000 accordingly,
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
if that's more amenable to the
I
board.
think there should be something there.
Right.
You know, like, and to your point, it doesn't have to be some big elaborate thing, but it has to be something.
Sure.
But we really don't know what they originally had planned other than a
Well,
playground
exactly,
is.
you know.
I mean, there's a lot of planning in the backyard without a structure. The kids went out in my backyard all the time. There were things
Exactly.
to do that
Normally, the board wouldn't specify the equipment or the value of the on-site playground structure.
Right.
Just, in this case,
It may well be that they know how much money they need to improve the playground they have now. And so, someone said, how are we gonna get the money to improve this playground? And someone said, I have an idea.
so maybe an opportunity to accomplish both.
That's right.
Yeah.
And keep the open area, which is why we picked it as the open area in the first place. It is one of the most beautiful places on the
Good
site.
spot for it, yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Oh, it was beautiful. It really was.
Mhm.
It would be great. I can see picnic
Yeah.
tables out there and
Right.
and, a lot of enjoyment taken from that space
Sure.
without necessarily building a structure to
A full
play on.
structure.
So
No, that's a
are
great
you
idea.
looking for more?
No, I think that's great direction, and I think we can work with that, so we appreciate that guidance from the board. And I know we threw a lot of information at the board tonight, but we're happy to answer any other general questions and get some feedback. Again, the only issue that we want to put on to the next meeting is traffic and the access to Pineview Avenue, just because we're not prepared to discuss that this evening without our consultant, but we're happy to talk about anything else.
Well, we did do a sidewalk, as you know, today.
Yes.
And I think the concerns I noted most definitively was finding a way to limit traffic onto
Pineview
Yeah,
Avenue.
I think if we could work at a gate system that was acceptable to both the fire department, police, fire and safety, and the residents, so that really they go out Gorham Street. I honestly don't think that what they imagine is gonna happen is gonna be as dramatic as that.
Sure.
Either way, you're driving through that neighborhood, it's not gonna be someplace you go quickly through. So to imagine that as a cut-through, I can't assume no one will, but I don't think it's gonna really get you where you're going very quickly, unless you're leaving that property. I can see that being a shorter route, but if you guys could work on some sort of gating or something that meets everyone's approval, and does prohibit cars from traveling through, rather than just a sign, I think that would alleviate a lot of the neighbors' concerns.
Sure, we can review that issue with MDM as well for the next meeting.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah, because
I'm
as I
not
recall, the
speaking for
traffic
the
study,
board,
there
so if
was
anyone
no
else
issue
has
there on
thoughts,
Gorham,
feel
so
free.
I don't see how.
No,
And if you had a sign up that said there was no egress out of there unless,
Moving trucks or
whatever,
large delivery
then he
vehicles or
wouldn't have-
fire equipment.
Yeah, then he wouldn't have considered that when he did that plan. So his plan should be effectively with all traffic going in and out of Gorham, I would think.
Sure. No, we can have MDM review that issue for the next meeting.
I have another question. On the paper road with the utilities and all, what's the plan there?
The paper-
I understand the rights and all
Yes.
that, but what's the plan?
The actual utility plan?
Yeah,
I'll
the
let,
utility, and then, what are we gonna do with the abutter there that had, unfortunately, maybe moved their fence into an area that,
Sure. No, I'll let Bert speak about what utilities will go through there.
is that okay?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think it's a very good point.
Try to grab a utility plan that I think is a slide list here, so we can kind of talk about that a little bit. Oh, I'm in the wrong slide.
a little bit.
This is our site with
Mhm.
some utilities on it.
Thank you, Colin.
There you go.
You can just put
Both
it on
our
view.
water and sewer are coming from Carlisle.
Right.
We
Sorry.
cannot cross the Lowell line, which you can see kind of cuts through this paper street, simply because we would then have to approach the Lowell Planning Board and get their site plan approvals and so forth. So we're trying to avoid that. We do have enough room in here to make the connections and so forth. We have paper street lights all along this unnamed paper street.
Right.
As you pointed out. What we would intend to do here is, because water and sewer, which is our sewer happens to be a force main going out there, we can bend that in any direction we need to, as long as we keep a 10-foot separation between water and sewer. That's our essential requirement. So we can pull them down as close to the building as we can, come all the way down to this corner, and then just make a very quick jog out into this area here with minimal disruption of the fence line. We also have the possibility of talking to this neighbor here, who may not have the same objection as the other gentleman who's
Yep.
been landscaping that particular area for some time. What we're gonna do over the next month or so is try to explore these particular options. We definitely don't wanna go ripping up lawn if we can avoid it. We don't wanna rip up fences, we don't wanna take out any trees. There are several trees in here. But at some point, we have to get from point A to point B with the utilities.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's my point to exactly what you just said. I'd like to see a more focused plan around what you're gonna do with the abutters in mind, you know, and so forth, that, you know, would work for you guys and also would be the best solution for the situation that, you know, we kind
Right now, if you look at this,
Yeah.
This is our current proposed layout
Uh-huh.
for the water sewer. As you can see, there's nothing happening up in this area here other than the water and the sewer. There's no reason, other than putting in another couple elbows or joints, that we can't move this around inside our own space to minimize any.
But you probably gotta be at least 15 feet in, right? If you get a
Right on
10
the
feet
line.
separation, you know.
This is an area that can be completely restored as well.
Yeah, right,
You
right.
know, and
But I mean, in the
honestly-
meantime, you know, they got their
I
fences,
do
their
understand that.
fences
He's
there.
very
and-
concerned. Right.
Yeah, no, and that can be replaced, so that's all I'm looking for, is what
Right.
the plan would be to, you know,
Yeah, I mean, once
essentially take care of everybody and take care of your,
Can you provide a narrative?
Yeah, and the intention is after any work will be done out there, we've already agreed that even if we disturb the fence or we disturb the grass, we're gonna bring it back to the exact same condition prior to. I think that if you're out on site today, you can see that the gentleman's lawn, which is beautifully kept, he has beautifully kept landscaping.
Put a
Our
note on the
intention would
plan.
be to put the fence back up after the utilities are put in place and put his lawn back in. So whatever we disturb, we will replace, and the board can make that a condition of this permit, because we are agreeing to do so.
yeah, so that's what I'm looking for.
Yes.
It's just what the more focused,
Absolutely.
you know,
The
once
utilities.
you finalize it.
And
Yeah.
to that, for gas and electric, what is your proposal there? Are you using gas?
Yes.
I don't believe
We're going to be using gas on the site. The gas will be coming from Gorham Street, okay. Originally, we had not intended to use gas because simply it's been very expensive in the past to install, but we are going to install natural gas, so we'd be placing that on the site. Let me see. And in fact, if that's the case, we'll be replacing that propane tank and removing it entirely. And
Propane
the
for
other
entire
utilities.
site? Or just, I don't remember the propane.
There's
Is that for the
propane-
entire site?
I don't remember that either.
Down here, we have
missed
a
that.
pump chamber.
Oh,
okay.
for the grinder.
For the,
I understand.
Actually, they're gonna be non-clogged pellets. But we have to have a generator in case power goes out. Originally, we were gonna place a propane tank here. If we have natural gas feeding the generator,
We're all set.
we're all set. And that'll save us quite a few dollars.
That's another swing set.
But, yeah, we will be bringing those other
I
utilities.
don't think that's gonna be offset by,
No, not,
National
probably
Grid,
not,
to be
but
honest with you.
it's all helpful. But yeah, we would be bringing in natural gas and cable and other utilities from Gorham Street. The electric would be coming in from Gorham Street, and they'd be placing utility boxes
and that's
along the way.
underground as well.
All underground.
Yep.
I think I'm not going to read in the comments from Christina, as you're still in flux with her. And if you could look at enhancing the proposal for the playground, I very much appreciate the passive recreation. It could, even if it was a level-down field where the kids could kick a ball, or, you know, soccer nets or something that's very popular with the younger kids. I think that would be, you know, great. I personally don't feel the need for a structure per se. There's a lot of different ways to create playtime.
Do you have any discussion with the school department on school bus routes?
No, we've not had any discussion about school bus routes as of yet, but we actually show 2 different sitting areas right now, one off of Pineview Avenue for a possible pickup, and then one off of Gorham Street. So regardless of where the school bus wants to pick up, they have access to either.
But on the Gorham, are you suggesting that they would not pull into the site?
They may.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, that's up to the complete discretion of the school department. Generally, they stop on Gorham and then they'd go find a turnaround. But where we might have a complete turnaround within the project for them to turn and go back down Gorham, they've made very well.
Continue to have that conversation.
Yes, so we will continue to have that discussion, and obviously that'll be subject to what happens on the Pineview access as well.
Yeah, okay. So I was thinking of a little hut or something.
I had a question about the snow removal.
Mm-hmm.
It seems as though the snow removal sites conflict with the plantings.
They shouldn't, but I'll check. I'll double check that. Many of the plantings may be bushes and they're set back, so the circle is for full growth or full flower. So in winter they actually won't be in the way. But I'll double check that answer with Lorraine and make sure I have a response to you for the next meeting. You can see the pictures have a pretty aggressive circle, but then when you actually look at the specifications on that 3rd sheet that shows the pretty pictures, they're not that large. But I'll double check that for you.
They also grow over in some cases.
Exactly, and they're higher levels, but I'll make sure for you.
Okay.
Well, the other thing too is sometimes snow removal ends up being, if it's stored there, it ends up killing what's there.
Plants, right.
You know, so that's
Just one
not,
other
the soil's
question.
not gonna be really useful, so you gotta look at that.
Right.
Are you using the housing authority for monitoring?
Yes.
Okay.
Brian, I have one question about.
Oh, certainly.
It doesn't seem to be any one-bedroom apartments.
There is 1-bedroom apartments. There is actually, hold on, let me just get you the
Building
correct
all
number
one
here. But there's actually 1-bedroom flats. I just want to make sure I give you the right number here.
Oh, okay. And the other thing, there's 14 3-bedrooms. Shouldn't we have like 5 instead?
Hold on.
There's
Okay,
12.
I counted wrong.
12 3-bedroom, 36
I
2,
think we should have 5.
4 1.
Right, so the state
I think
requires.
that's a state formula,
The
right?
state requires that at least 10%, or the project administrators signed a group agreement about 3 years or 4 years ago that say that a minimum of 10% of housing within any project where their project subsidy will have 3-bedroom housing, and that's to create more affordable housing in the Commonwealth, which became a problem after many of these projects were conditioned to be 2- and 1-bedrooms. And to address that concern, we have to at least have 6 because you have to round up. And we show more than that. That's for many purposes. One is that there's a need in the community for more rental family housing that's above 3-bedroom. I think you'll find that many of these developments that are being proposed are limited to 2-bedroom, especially not under 40B. If you look even at the other projects that are being proposed, most of them are 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom units because they're meant for commuters, or they have some other intention for your overlay districts or for other intentions. with these 40Bs, to the extent that we can, especially in the rental developments, we're trying to create more 3-bedroom units to give families places to rent in the town of Chelmsford. And even though you might say that 7 of those are actually going to be at market rent, certainly the market rent is going to be much lower than a mortgage, and it allows these families to come into the Chelmsford community. So it really does fulfill a need. And I think we went out of our way with this project to give a mix of not just saying that these are 2-bedroom units, to give some 3 bedrooms, some 2 bedrooms, and some 1-bedroom flat areas to give a diversity of housing within the project. So that was intentional, to give more 3 bedrooms for that very reason.
Well, the only reason I brought that up, I figured we'd have less traffic with less bedrooms too. And
Well, I would have to.
help the whole project.
Right. I mean, I think it's based on the total number of bedrooms, how they do the traffic count, but, go ahead.
Yeah,
Paul,
I
you can
I
get to it.
think when the traffic consultant is here next time.
Yes.
Probably would be helpful for
We
them
can
to
address that.
address that. I
Yes.
would avoid, as a board, looking at reducing the number of 3-bedroom units simply because you think that there are too many 3-bedroom units, because it does become a fair housing issue. And the board does not want to step into something that it doesn't want to. If there are direct impacts, that there's a feeling need to be addressed, that result in it, that's a separate issue. So if there is a specific traffic problem that can be addressed by reducing the number of 3-bedroom units, then maybe that's something worth looking at, but simply reducing it to reduce it, is something that gets the board in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, what traffic were you out on, Gorham?
Just the whole thing.
Okay.
And I'll ask MDM that question.
We have 12 3-bedroom units.
And 36 twos and 4 ones.
Much closer to 20%, exceeds 20%.
Right.
Than the 10% required, so.
Right.
We don't have, 3 is okay. I mean, I'm not sure, why can't we be in compliance with the 10% as opposed to having 20% 3-bedrooms?
Because that's not what has been proposed. What has been proposed is more like 20%.
Correct.
So if you're asking the applicant to change their proposal to eliminate the 3-bedroom units simply because the board doesn't like 3-bedroom units, then that creates a fair housing question. Whereas if there are specific concerns with the proposal that reducing the number of bedroom, the number of 3-bedroom units would address, that's separate. For instance, if you've got a setback issue, right, whether it's too close to an abutting property and you think the building needs to be shrunk a little bit, and the way to accomplish that is by
removing
less
3
3-bedroom
bedrooms
units,
to
then that would
condense
be
that.
something that would be more legitimate than simply stating, I don't like the fact that there's 20% 3-bedroom units, cut it back to the minimum allowed by the state. That's when you can run into a fair housing problem.
Mr. Chairman, I might add that 10% is a minimum mandated by the state, not a maximum, and they would really like more, but I thought that was a reasonable compromise.
No, I understand that. I'm not looking to honestly do the bare minimum. I get that if there's a need for this, and obviously you folks have been very careful about your marketing and who we're going to rent this to, and you're not going to put a 3-bedroom in if you don't feel you're going to rent it, for obvious reasons. I understand that. I think the concerns may or may not be, busing and schools and cost with additional children, which I think leads to Mr. Haverty's concerns about fair housing. So I don't know, where
You should always, with any condition that you're considering, you should always be looking to what the impacts are you're trying to address.
But
and then
we're really not allowed to address fair housing issues such as schools.
Correct. That is something, impact to schools is outside the purview of the board. And that's one of the reasons why you don't want to step into the number of bedrooms unless there is actually a legitimate site planning concern that reducing that
Those
percentage of
bedrooms
3 bedrooms
improve the
is
site.
addressed through that.
Didn't we have a similar discussion with 50 Hunt Road? Where
We
the
did.
board
We did. I just
asked or encouraged them to look at
Yes.
changing the bedroom? I don't know if it was specific.
I think it was before I got involved on that one.
Yeah, it was.
You wanna-
It was.
But
So
again,
funny.
That's why he got involved.
Now we know what Mr. Haverty is doing here tonight, keeping us straight and true. Very
you should
good.
always be looking at specific site impacts
Yep.
and why they need to be mitigated, and then that can be a potential way to mitigate a site impact.
But what about housing need based upon the documented?
Well, that's
housing need?
that's a separate issue. I mean, if you actually have some sort of planning documents that show that you have an ample amount of 3-bedroom and you are meeting that minimum requirement, and the issue you're trying to address is that there is a need for 2-bedroom units or 1-bedroom units within the municipality, that would be a more legitimate approach. And again, because that's not being tied to a desire to limit the impacts fiscally
So,
and school-age children-wise.
so was that where you were heading on your 1-bedrooms?
Positively.
So in the affordable housing
Out the
plan, as
window.
you're well aware, it documents obviously a need for family housing,
Right.
right? And it certainly documents a need for 1-bedroom, single-level living. So I don't know if these were gonna have elevators in them, or what was it, stairs, or?
Flats.
It's one bedroom over another 1-bedroom,
That's right, there is no elevator, they are
Okay,
stairs.
stacked.
They're single-family living, but Mr. Wojcic's concerns are noted, so we'll review that for the next meeting.
And you may want to look at, if this is an issue that is already addressed in the housing production plan.
It is.
You may want to look at some of the recent approvals as well and make some comparisons.
Yes, I'll review those.
And not just necessarily the 40B ones.
Yes.
And there are handicap compliant units in this as well.
Yes, there has to be.
Right.
Right, so we'll comply with all ADA requirements.
One more?
Absolutely.
I just had a question
We
about
still have 50 minutes on Mr. Haverty's clock. So.
You only got 4 on mine.
That's four on yours?
the
That
parking,
sounds appropriate. We'll probably look at it.
the
10 o'clock.
parking distribution, or is it just considered spots for the entire development, or are you reserving more spots for a 3-bedroom than a 2-bedroom?
Well, no, these units actually have garages in and spot out. So some of them will be designated just because of the location, but then there will be actually, where we remove the dumpsters, it'll be clearly overflow visitor parking. They won't be in front of units, but they won't be marked. They'll be open.
So each unit gets one garage and one spot in front?
Except the 1-bedroom units, they only get 1 space outside. They have no garages on the 1-space unit. 1-bedroom unit, excuse me.
And one spot.
But there's enough for 2 spots for every unit plus 4, I think. So I think we have, right, but I mean, for the
There's
overall.
sufficient overflow that if
Yes.
there is a 1-bedroom unit that has 2 vehicles, there'll be someplace for them.
We have
to park.
52 units, and now we have 107 spaces, so we have more than adequate parking, and we're not gonna designate
More
any of
than
the
2 to
extra
1.
spaces as per unit. So if somebody had a party,
Right.
there'd be places for them to park.
Anything else we'd like to go over tonight, or we can look forward to our continuance to November 2nd, I believe?
Public input?
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize, yes. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor or against this project? Please step forward.
2 minutes.
Pat O'Grady, Shed Lane. I just had a question. The water, is it hooking up to East Chelmsford Water District?
Yes.
And how many current users does the East Chelmsford Water District have?
That's completely separate from the town?
I know, but if the percentage of water users, I think it's about 300 users in East Chelmsford, and now we're adding 50 some odd more.
I thought you were closer to 600, but I might be confused now with Norman.
I don't have the numbers. I was just wondering. I didn't know if that was looked into and whether
Did we have a
the
letter from that?
East Chelmsford Water District can handle it.
No, because they can never
So
be.
we'll make note, because
I'll
we
make
did
an-
not
I'll
have
make an
that
extra
letter here
effort
this
to
evening
contact
either.
them.
Okay. And if not, they can just hook up to Lowell. I'm happy with that.
That water's no good.
Just a couple of elbows and lines.
Karen Christensen, 66 Carlisle Street. In this development, how many acres is that? 3.5, and you're putting 52 units. What are the borders to, say, the neighbors or 495?
What are the
The borders, the distance
Could
to
you adjust the board?
buildings, or, yeah. mhm.
Setbacks are around 14 feet.
So with 495, I mean, there are times a day that's bumper to bumper and crawls. A lot of the highways are being expanded on. I don't know if there are any plans at this time to expand that, but I would think at some point they would. How would that affect this development?
Probably wouldn't 495 is 400 feet wide. Let's put another 3 or 4 lanes in the property.
I guess with this development, some of my concerns or question is, again, the amount of traffic, and part of the problem is this is not the only 40B proposed in East Chelmsford. There's actually 2 others right now that I'm aware of that are within a quarter of a mile or so of this. So East Chelmsford basically is a bunch of old cow paths, and there's two of the proposals are on very bad corners in East Chelmsford, but the increase in the number of cars and traffic flow, I don't see as being a positive thing. They're already in front of my house. I live on Carlisle Street, and there are certain times of the morning that traffic is backed up beyond my house. That's one concern. The number of people, the number of, which you're saying, you know, schools aren't to be considered in this, but right now we're attaching trailers to schools with the number of students that we have in town already. That's going to stress that system even more. It is an issue, whether you want to address it or attach it to this or not. Again, you know, the increase in number of people and water, we're on constant water bans. How does it affect that? How are we supplying all of these additional people and units with these services in Chelmsford?
I can tell you that we will have approvals from each, the East Chelmsford Water District, from the engineering department, that the infrastructure can support it. I understand completely what you're saying, and to reiterate, we're really in a spot where we cannot, unless we develop more housing, stop this from happening. So we're currently in what's called safe harbor, which means these folks here were ahead of the curve, and they're allowed to have their application go through. But at this point, there's no more 40Bs going to come before us for an entire year. And at the end of that year, and including the building that's done here, it may be that we're in safe harbor for quite a while to come. We'll have met our goals, and then we don't have to have any more 40Bs. But until that day, we have to provide affordable housing per state law. It's not a town.
I've also heard, tell me if I'm wrong, but there's, in the East Chelmsford corridor, there's about 6 proposals just in East Chelmsford 40B. Am I correct?
Evan might be able to answer that better
I'm
than
not
I
sure
can.
there's 6, but there's one on Brick Hill Road, which will likely be submitted to the zoning board within the next month.
And
There's
is
one
that
in front
going to
of,
be submitted with safe harbor?
yes.
So that gives us a great deal of leeway in deciding what's right and wrong about that. Our goals would be to reach another 150 units total to set us free. Is that where we are now?
You'd have another 65 units to get to, if everything were approved, that's on the, in front of boards, you'd have another 65 units. The other project that's in East is along Turnpike. That's in front of the planning board, not the zoning board. Is that
That's
considered
not
East?
considered
No, it's
East.
not considered East.
That's center.
So other than this project, 93 Brick Hill is the only other housing project that we're aware of.
That one's been approved. It's been sold.
Yeah,
it's approved. It's,
that's 11 units, I think, on.
That
Yeah,
was
and then the other
Riverneck.
one on River Neck is Princeton at Meadowood, which is 48, which was approved eight years ago, may never get built.
Let's hope. I mean, I would like to, you know, this is a residential neighborhood. I would like, what's being put up is, I consider much more of a city or urban type developments. I don't think they belong in residential neighborhoods. I think it's causing problems with the amount of traffic, people, so on and so forth. And all of these are all within a quarter of a mile of each other. That's pretty congested. Are we building anywhere else in town? Are they all in East Chelmsford at
certainly
this
not.
point?
We did
it
just
used to be in
approve one on
South Chelmsford.
110.
Now they moved to 110. Now they're in the east.
And this site was, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, designated by the master plan as a suitable site for multifamily housing. It's not a spot I would love to live. We were there today. It directly abuts 495. It really has some traffic noise when we were there, and I'm sure it's 20 hours a day that traffic is, audible probably inside the home. It's, it's certainly to the person's choice to live there, and it's, it's not ideal, but it is viable land and beautiful land too. It really is.
So
It
we
just
will,
abuts the
we will be
highway.
discussing project-specific traffic at the next meeting?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or concerns this evening? Seeing none, I think I'd entertain a motion to continue this to November 2nd?
Second.
Second?
Does the board have any interest in starting a little earlier on the 2nd? You have your, 6 or 7 regular single-family home applications?
Yeah, that's our regular meeting. We're having this earlier was our September regular meeting.
And we're
Next week is our
continuing
regular
Carlisle
October.
Street.
All 3.
Dalton Road, and we have 6 or 7 already?
Single family.
I have to check. We have 8 for Thursday, next Thursday. I might be confusing the two.
So, I mean, you can start at 7, go to 10 if you want, or you can start a little earlier.
That 6:30 makes sense? Or that's very hard for you?
Keep it at 7?
Yeah, I vote for
We can't afford to lose any more
Okay,
members.
we'll do 7. I think, Colleen, if you can, the next applicants, are they required to be on November 2nd? If someone else came in today, can we
Right.
just say that
Most
the
people are
agenda is full
dying-
and we'll see you
Yeah,
December?
most people are dying to get on, but now that the construction season is over, that push is
Slowing,
going to
that's
slow down.
slowed.
So I can push them off a little easier now.
They're looking for spring starts and such.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I think that if we can try to limit that one
Can do
to
our
a,
one meeting a month again, that would be nice.
yeah, and I think without the 40Bs, when we get through them, that'll be possible.
One meeting a month.
I mean, there's nothing requiring you to spend 3 hours at any meeting, right? It's at the discretion of the chair.
And honestly, it was really a disappointment that we had to turn people away 2
Sure.
weeks ago,
Twice.
a week
Sure.
ago. So I wanted to make certain that we had those concerns met.
Right, but you have the discretion to limit it to 2-hour meeting if you want to.
And honestly, if we hadn't gone as far back with the other meetings, I would
Absolutely.
have considered, a 9 o'clock stop. But I think we kind of rolled through a few tonight, so that was good. That being said, could I have a motion to adjourn?
You did.
All in favor?
Thank you very much.
Read your Robert's
All righty.
rules, you folks.